Welcome to the place where dreams come true, where everything you want can be yours, if and only if you're willing to work for them, you're willing to hurt for them, but most of all, you're willing to be first for them. Look, I'm going straight to the top. I don't know how I would stop, like it or not. I got some goals that I'm hitting. You hear what I'm spitting, it's hot. Look what I got, whole lot of passion and pain. The road to success is insane. Stay out my lane, cause I'm on a mission. I'm getting what stands in my way. Yeah, I'm a beast, I wouldn't play with me, baby. The way that I'm training is crazy and I do it daily. You wanna talk about drive? I got more drive than Mercedes. I've never been lazy. I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete? Well, get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt, push through the hurt just to show them my worth. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt, cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Yeah, I gotta be first. Look, I don't want anyone's sympathy. I understand what is meant for me. I give my focus and energy. If it's meant to be, then it's meant to be. But mentally, I'm undefeated. They hear that and say I'm conceited, like there's no reason. Like I don't beat them and come back again just to teach them that when you work under pressure, you reach higher measures. They'll try and bring you down, but you cannot let them, and only get better and focus on cheddar. Eye on the prize and you'll become a legend. Like, when I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete? Well, get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt, push through the hurt just to show them my worth. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt, cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Yeah, I gotta be first. They don't know what's gotten into me, how'd I turn pain into energy. Through all the struggle and hurt, remember my worth, and that's why I gotta be first. Welcome to the place where dreams come true, where everything you want can be yours, if and only if you're willing to work for them, you're willing to hurt for them, but most of all, you're willing to be first for them. Ha, look, I'm going straight to the top. I don't know how I would stop, like it or not. I got some goals that I'm hitting. You hear what I'm spitting? It's hot. Look what I got. Whole lot of passion and pain. The road to success is insane. Stay out my lane, cause I'm on a mission. I'm getting what stands in my way. Yeah, I'm a beast. I wouldn't play with me, baby. The way that I'm training is crazy, and I do it daily. You wanna talk about drive? I got more drive than Mercedes. I never been lazy. I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete? Well, get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt, push through the hurt just to show them my worth. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Ha. Yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt, cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Ha. Yeah, I gotta be first. Look, I don't want anyone's sympathy. I understand what is meant for me. I give my focus and energy. If it's meant to be, then it's meant to be. But mentally, I'm undefeated. They hear that and say I'm conceited. Like there's no reason. Like I don't beat them and come back again just to teach them that when you work under pressure, you reach higher measures. They'll try and bring you down, but you cannot let them, and only get better and focus on cheddar. Eye on the prize and you'll become a legend. Like, when I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You want to compete? Well, get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt, push through the hurt just to show them my worth. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Ha. Yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt, cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Ha. Yeah, I gotta be first. They don't know what's gotten into me, how'd I turn pain into energy. Through all the struggle and hurt, remember my worth, and that's why I gotta be first.
How do you truly decide who is the best Clash Royale player in the world? Do you have them play duel mode? Is it Mega Draft? Do you pair them off for 2v2? Well, what if you did all three? That's what's happening right here today. Hello and welcome. I'm Rich Slayton, joined by Cashman and Minnie for the Snapdragon Pro Series Season 3 Finals, where we have 8 teams, 8 pairs of 2 going through an absolute gauntlet for a great competition. And Cashman, I know you're very excited about today.
Excitement is an understatement, because I know that I want to know who is the best at Clash Royale. But there are different modes in Clash Royale. But today, we have a tournament with all the modes, at least all the important modes. So today, whoever wins this tournament, are they the best at Clash Royale as a whole? I guess we'll find out.
Lots to find out here. Of course, Minnie, we have duels, we have Mega Draft, we have 2v2. Which one of these 3 modes is going to present the most challenges for these 16 players coming in today?
In terms of our Snapdragon Pro Series, Rich, Mega Draft has been the first one, the one that the players are most out of tune with. So I think that's the one that's going to be a little bit more challenging than maybe they'll get into the rhythm as the further rounds go on. But I'm really excited to see those 2v2s. I just love what these players can come up with.
We'll see what they come up with here in just a couple of minutes, because the Snapdragon Pro Series Season 3 Finals starts now.
Until a player on top know it. Rooftop, penthouse suite. If you really want it, gotta own it. Fight through it, we was at the lowest. Blood, sweat, tears, the components. Riding all year, now's the moment. We are not friends, we are opponents. Yeah, I'm coming for mine. Yeah, I'm making a play, the game on the line. Yeah, I've been on the grind. Yeah, I jump in the spot, I made it my time. Yeah, look in the sky. Yeah, the stars align, no shade to shine. Can't stop it already. Emotional work and devotion, we put in this time. Look. You won't stop my stride. I'll just break your line. I don't tolerate wasted time. Take us down, keep fighting.
Welcome to the Snapdragon Pro Series Season 3 final for Clash Royale. We're doing not one, not two, but 3 competitive game modes all wrapped into one to give out some money, some glory, and of course entertain you there at home. And speaking of you there at home, if you're not already, go ahead and follow this competition on all social media to make sure you never miss a moment, because we're not just doing Clash Royale, we're doing Brawl Stars, doing Clash of Clans, doing tons of games that you love and of course that you can participate in if you go and join the Discord, link in the description below. This is the era of everyone, and you could be one of those everyone up here next time for maybe Season 4 of the Snapdragon Pro Series Season Finals. And that's what we're doing here today. Now, Cashman, we mentioned earlier, top of the show, that we're doing a lot of game modes, but how the heck is that going to work?
It sounds complicated. How in the world are we going to put 3 modes in one? Well, it's actually very simple. There's going to be 8 teams of 2, and it's going to be a best of 3. In that first set, we are going to have the duel format. So one player from each team will have to play against each other. And then if we get to the set, well, we will get to the second set, the other player will have to play in Mega Draft. And then if we get to the third and final set as a tiebreaker, both players have to get back into the arena because we're going 2v2, a mode that I love to see it back in the competitive scene. It has been a joy to watch.
And speaking of a joy to watch, you mentioned the single elimination bracket. It's going to be a stressful competition today because there are no second chances. And we have some killers in here, of course. 2 world champions in Mohamed Light and Surgical Goblin. Tons of world finalists like Lucas, Doom, Vitor, Aslan, Arden Toas, Wallace, and a bunch of top-tier teams, including, keep an eye on the Polish power of Inthrill and Titan. But of course, they all only get one shot in this competition to make it through. And many, of course, they want to get those wins for their own personal pride, for the bragging rights. But the stress level is high in this competition as well because of our prize pool.
100%. Big shift in our prize pool this time around in our season finale as opposed to our first 3 run-arounds. All these players playing today are guaranteed at least $500, and they will all be looking to scale their way up the prize pool ladder to get a piece of the pie at that $4,000 grand prize.
And that is certainly a big one. And of course, these players, they have to get through multiple top tier teams, and you're here to watch all the action alongside myself, Cashman, and Minnie. Let's take a look at the schedule for today and what matches you'll be seeing. We are doing all 4 of our quarterfinals, and then tomorrow our semis and our grand final. But today we kick things off with this big time matchup between 2 top tier teams. On one side, we're going to have Mohamed Light and Lucas Gamer up against Faust and Doom. And as we go further along with that one, we're going to have some other killers in here as well. Now, Minnie, one of the big challenges here in this competition is, of course, that you have so many game modes to work through. Obviously, you're very experienced in Mega Draft. You mentioned top of the show. You thought that would present the most challenges. What should these players be doing during that draft phase? How should they be focusing to try to execute at the highest level?
All these players got to keep in mind, they're veteran, experienced players. You've got to be pouring in all of that game knowledge in such a short amount of time that gives you the Mega Draft to pick your cards. You've got to use all your knowledge as quick as you can in order to give yourself the best possible position in the next 3 to 5 minutes of that match that you're going into.
Now, Cashman, our final set here, if we get to it, is 2v2. Of our 16 players, only 5 of them have truly high-level 2v2 competitive experience as part of Clash Royale League. And in particular, 2 of those players, Lucas and Mohamed Light, are a 2v2 duo. How impactful will that experience be as we get to that third and final set?
It will be crucial because we've already seen in the Snapdragon Pro Series, the 2v2 tournament, that it is essential to have experience. It pays dividends, not only in the 2v2 format, but also with your team. And a lot of these teams have already played together, but we will see right away, have they continued to practice? Have they gotten even better together? Because in 2v2, one mistake and it's over.
And of course, we do have two other very top tier 2v2 players, and Lucas's former partner in Wallace, but not partners today. And of course, the former world champion, part of a great 2v2 duo with Canario in Surgical Goblin. But Minnie, the story as it really has been, we call this the era of everyone here at the Snapdragon Pro Series. But really, for a long time, it seems like Clash Royale has been the era of Mohamed Light. And with what he's done so far in the Snapdragon Pro Series here in Season 3, that doesn't look like it's changing anytime soon.
100%. The era of domination for Mohamed Light has been going on as long as I can remember, taking the Snapdragon Pro Series and everybody in it by absolute storm, not holding back in the slightest, playing the best Clash Royale through 3 different qualifiers, bringing these 3 different modes. So we'll see if the culmination of all these modes together here today will bring our world champion fruits, or if it'll be his downfall once again.
Cashman, neither you nor I have ever had the pleasure, or we call it the displeasure, of playing against Mohamed Light. Do you think it's really just the nerves issue, or is it really that big of a skill gap between everybody at this point?
Yeah, it's hard to, we're just looking at his resume right now. Every time we came into a tournament, well, duels, maybe this is a mode where Mo's going to struggle. Mega Draft, is this the mode where he's going to struggle? 2v2, where it's not all about him. Is he going to struggle? The answer was no, every single time. So there's clearly something there. Is it the skill gap that much? Is it luck? Or I don't know what it is, because I've asked, how do you beat Mo? How do you beat Mo? How do you beat Mo? And I don't know if there's an answer for that, which is scary.
Well, we'll see if our first pair has an answer for that, as the Mohamed Light matchup with Lucas Gamer up against Doom and Faust will be our first matchup of the day to kick things off. So on one side, you have the former world champion, the only player to ever win back-to-back monthly finals without a coach, in Lucas. And then you have Faust for SK, the SK x MKers matchup. Faust, who is most likely making world finals this year, and Doom, last year's world finalist. Let's go ahead and talk about our predictions here. Minnie, I'll start with you. Are you going with the favorites, Mo and Lucas here, or is this upset time?
You know I can't bet against the champ as much as I would like to. I feel like this weekend is just Mohamed Light time once again.
You know, I'm going to have to go ahead and say the same thing. You have the greatest player to ever touch a phone alongside another world-class competitor, and they've both already shown that chemistry in 2v2 as well. I'm going to pick Mo and Lucas. And Cashman, can I assume that you're doing the same thing?
Well, you'd be an idiot to not go with Mo and Lucas. They're 2 of the best players in the game that we've ever seen. So that's why I'm going with Doom and Faust. When the crowd zigs, I'm zagging. We were talking about how good Mo has been. It can't continue forever. There has to be a time where he loses. He's due for a loss, and I think today is that day. Am I an idiot? Maybe, but there is another issue that we haven't talked about, and Lucas, he's in Busan right now. He's participating in another tournament recently, so that could be a factor. We always said, hey, the only way Mo loses is if his Wi-Fi cuts out, if his phone breaks. Well, now there is that issue. This could play a factor in those 2v2 matches, and if Lucas loses his matches, it could be an issue for that team, and we'll see what happens.
Let's take a look at the lineups for today. Our Mohamed Light Lucas team, no big surprises here for me. Mohamed Light has been the king of the duel now for multiple years running, and he'll continue to be in the duel mode. Lucas going for the Mega Draft position, and of course, if we make it to the final round, they will pair up for our 2v2. Let's look at the other side here for our SK MKers matchup, and Doom taking the duels here, Faust going Mega Draft. Minnie, is this the lineup that you would have picked for Doom and Faust?
I am kind of surprised that Mo is not going into our Mega Draft. We've seen it before in our Pro Series. He has just got more game knowledge than basically anyone. He puts it to such good use, which I would never even expect him to lose a single Mega Draft game, let alone a set. So kind of surprising that he's going the dual route. Obviously, still super comfortable with that, you know. Heard he won a world championship in like a dual format or something. So definitely comfortable there for Mo and Lucas. Doom and Faust, though, gonna have have to bring the heat. Doom starting out against Mohamed Light. We know Doom to be one of the fiercer players, not scared to take it to anyone in the Clash Royale scene. So maybe he'll be able to take a game or two from our reigning world champion.
Yeah, Doom, we'll see what he does in duel mode. Obviously known as a lava player. Does that come into play here with the evolved barbarians? And, you know, Cashman, you've been around here for the 2v2 portion of it. Speaking of the evolved barbarians and of evolutions, when we get into 2v2, is there any particular evolution you think shines even more in that game mode? And any particular evolution you think gets a nerf by having 16 cards on both sides out on the board?
If there's one evolution that has been dominating since the release of evolutions, it's the Firecracker. The Firecracker is a game changer. It's the only card that I've ever seen that can deal almost 1,000 damage to the tower, and it's not even because it's a mistake. It's just there's nothing you can do about it. So Firecracker, I wouldn't be surprised if we see it a lot in the duel format. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it a lot in 2v2 today, because the Firecracker, it's the MVP of Clash Royale right now.
She has certainly been crazy with the ICBM she carries on her shoulder, so we'll see if she stays in the mix there. Many, when you get into 2v2, the spells are flying significantly, and of course you have more buildings. How does that impact does it much impact the Firecracker play at all? And on the other side of things, how does it impact the idea of double Royal Giant here?
Oh, Rich, the synergies are endless. Not only can you combo Royal Giant Evo with Firecracker Evo, but even Firecracker itself, which can sometimes be a win condition due to how punishing it can be. We are just going to see it across every single archetype without any hesitation. The Royal Giant decks, I'm going to be interested to see how the meta has developed and see how these Evo Firecracker decks deal with so much Royal Giant. So maybe we'll see a little bit more of Royal Giant, maybe some Drill, maybe some minor Firecracker mixed into the action to try to counter some of the mini metas that are formed as a result of the 2v2 format.
Well, I believe we are just about ready to go into our first game here, and we'll have, of course, that dual mode matchup coming to you in just a moment. On one side, Mohamed Light, on the other side, Doom. When you talk about Mohamed and Doom in the dual mode, and Minnie, I'll stay with you here for a moment, with Mohamed and Doom in the dual mode, we saw Doom pull out the crazy Lava Hound versus Lava Hound Hog Rider combination at World Finals. Do you think he goes for crazy stuff like that here against Mohamed?
I think he's definitely going to tone it down just a little bit. That Lava Hound Hog Rider, it seemed like such a stretch, such an innovation. You know, it's World Finals. I am excited, but no. Today, I feel like it's going to take a step back. Doom's been really consistent since those World Finals and amplifying his deck pool, grinding out new decks. So I'm interested to see some of that a little bit today. Maybe Mo will struggle to get some matchups due to how much Doom has been practicing. So I'm really interested to see what Doom is going to start with, and if he's gonna punish with, like, you know what, I already got a game, I'm gonna go with Lava here, I'm confident Lava, or how he switches it up. It's gonna be very interesting to see the deck picks.
Now, Cashman, I was razzing you a bit earlier as we were doing our rehearsal for the morning, an old video of yours where you recommended to newer players to double down on their win conditions. If you have one condition, why not have two? Is Lava Hog your favorite of the double win conditions you've seen played, or is there something else that you like even more than that crazy combination?
I would say I love seeing meta decks, but I love seeing meta decks with a twist. I always love to see players push the envelope, and that's why I like watching players like Doom, like OP Sam, because they have an understanding of the game, how to make a deck, but also how to push the limits of deck building. Because Clash Royale, there's two aspects. You have to make a deck, and you have to play the deck. We know these players can play decks. We know they're the best of the best. But building a deck, that's still a venue, an avenue of Clash Royale that I don't think has been maximized yet. So I'd be okay with Doom going with something a little crazy. Get Mo out of his comfort zone.
Well, that's certainly a hard thing to do for many people. We saw him struggle in his first round at CRL World Finals on stage. And then, of course, we all know how that story ended. The lower bracket champion, of course, to world champion. Now, there is no lower bracket in here, though, Minnie. This is a single elimination tournament. How much does that change your stress level when you know you have no second chances in an event like this one?
It just feels like the pressure is amplified. When you have that lower bracket, usually playing that winner bracket, maybe some first stage jitters, maybe some nerves, especially on stage in a live event, but you know you have that second life cushion to kind of bail you out of any winner bracket problems. This time around, despite the format being 3 sets, you still have to worry because every set counts and each teammate is responsible for their own thing. Mo can't control what happens during Lucas's set, so maybe he'll have have a little bit of worries there. Maybe Lucas will have a bad set or vice versa, which is unlikely. But these players are going to have to be in sync for a set 3 if necessary and ready to take it to each other when it comes to taking this 2v2 set.
Now, Lucas, of course, in that Mega Draft set up against Faust for our second round. And it's been kind of quiet. People haven't talked about it much. There has been an adjustment to the way Mega Draft works, where it's first pick is no longer as powerful as it used to be. Cashman, did it feel like Mega Draft was a little bit different when you saw it played here in the Snapdragon Pro Series with that slight adjustment to the picking style?
It felt very different, and I don't know if we saw that every player knew about that change. When that change was implemented, it was recently to when the tournament happened. So you have to be aware, because sometimes we saw players wait a little bit too long, and it looked like they ended up auto-picking because they didn't know, oh, it's your turn to pick. You don't go back-to-back now at the end. You go back, forth. And does it make a big difference with the deck construction? I don't think so. These players are so good at putting themselves in a situation, just be able to build a good deck, but also look at what their opponents are picking and say, okay, wait a second, you pick the, I don't know, the Inferno Dragon? Okay, I'll pick the Ewiz. They're good at putting themselves in a situation to succeed in the matchup, but also the deck themselves. I love Mega Draft. I can't wait to watch more of it.
And we're talking about Mega Draft Mini. Of course, you mentioned Mohamed Light being your top pick for being a Mega Draft, the Mega Draft king here. Obviously, not in the Mega Draft set for this first matchup. Who else do you put as the top players for Mega Draft as we go through today's matchups?
I mean, despite Mohamed Light's excellence, Lucas, you've seen yourself, Rich, in some of your brackets that you run on your channel, has been in the competitive top of each single bracket. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see some hot picks from him. And one thing that I'm particularly excited for is no Evos in this Mega Draft. That's one thing that we have to keep in mind. A lot of these players practicing with Evos, maybe some hero action in the 3-card cycle, take it back a little bit prior to the inclusion of the evolutions.
That's a pretty significant difference, not having the evolved cards mixed into Mega Draft, and that definitely will change come with a couple of the picks here, but of course Mega Draft has been played without evolutions in its entirety, so we'll see how prepared those players are for it. And of course, they are still preparing for their matchups. Speaking of matchups, if we can get the bracket graphic back up here in a couple of moments, Cashman, I'm going to go to you here. Of course, our first matchup is this great one between Mohamed Light and Lucas against Doom and Faust. But when you look at these other quarterfinal matchups today, is there one that really gets you excited about this competition?
The one that I'm looking at right away is just Surgical Goblin and Vitor. Surgical Goblin's been a player that I've watched for so long, and I love to see him get back in the competitive scene. And he said that this year was going to be his year, and so far it hasn't. But there, at any moment, he could come alive. He has the skill. If we're talking about understanding of Clash Royale, he knows it better than anyone else. He's arguably one of the GOATs because he's been here so very long. And I want to see him be able to elevate his game, and seeing him, I want to see what mode he picks. What mode do you think he's going to be in? Do you think he's going to do the Mega Draft, or do you think he's going to do the dual format?
And that's a very, very hard question. I'll send that one over to you, Minnie. Do you have any thoughts on which way that question lands?
I definitely feel somebody so competitive oriented as Surgical Goblin, he's going to be taking the dual route. I definitely feel like Vitor can be a lot more of an experimental player, but let's concentrate on our first round matchup here. Games are ready. Mohamed Light and Lucas about to be taking it in very, very soon. But back to Surgical Goblin, or
Here we go.
To Mohamed Light. Here we go.
We are finally into our first duel mode. It is in-game duels. We're going to say bye to Cashman for the moment. Minnie and I are going to hang out here with you for the duration of this match. Mohamed Light and Doom. Again, in-game duels rather than what some people call normal duels or out-of-game duels. So these are going to be for prepared decks rather than making adjustments as time goes on. And it does seem like for a player with the creativity of Doom, Minnie, that might hamper him a little bit.
100% in-game duels, always kind of a question at the table when it comes to, we don't have the creative aspect of changing decks based on the burnt cards in games 1 or game 2. However, both of these players have been in the competitive scene enough time to get their fair share of duels prepared and developed as time goes on. Here, interesting start from Doom, rocking some RG against what looks to be some balloon action from Mo.
And nice solid opening salvo from Doom using the Electro Spirit to reset and then get another boost from the Phoenix and its egg burst. And we are seeing a very big early lead from Doom. And that's got to be concerning for Mohamed Light. Talking about this matchup, Mini, this is a lot of damage for Mo to give up this early.
Yeah, I was just about to point out, it seems like Mo's rocking that Mortar Balloon deck, and that's why we see his cycles so heavy, difficult to get around with in single Elixir. Just got not any cheap cards. The cheapest cards is that Snowball, which we've already seen cycled twice. So in double Elixir, he is definitely going to be able to pick it up, but not especially with those balloon attacks, only having a Phoenix to respond. And then you also have that Snowball to make room. So going to be some perilous situations for Doom here in double. And then for Inferno Dragon, honestly, combo with the Mortar, it seems like it's going to be so difficult to get past.
And here we go. Making the opposite lane pressure right now is Doom. Fireball trying to get the Loon to turn back around, but not quite enough. It will get one big connection plus death damage. And just like that, Mohamed Light back in the conversation. 16-24 to 10-76. The lead still for Doom, but Mo now battling back as this evolved Royal Giant is not going to get as much as maybe he would like with two Inferno Dragons in the mix.
Doom is playing some really good micro and some very good macro as well. We saw that push on the right-hand side from Mo with the balloon. Doom pressuring with the Lumberjack to force out some Elixir and then defending cheap with Phoenix Fireball. And then on the right-hand side, he common attack so well. He's really putting Mo in some very uncomfortable situations and really pushing our world champion to the limit as we enter sudden death reach.
And here we go, pressure remaining, Lumberjack at the bridge, Miner and Inferno Dragon both to pick that up and stop it before it even gets started. Sudden death overtime, a minute 50 left, and the lead right now, just a little over 800, a little under 800 HP for Doom if you go crosswise right to left, and now it's Mohamed Light. Seeing the Phoenix go out of cycle, gonna go ahead and go right towards that opposite tower.
Yeah, taking advantage of that Phoenix being used on the right-hand side as Mo. Dominic just opts to take a shot and cycle back to the Phoenix on the left-hand side. Mo gearing up for another push here. Dominic punishing due to that Inferno Dragon being used on the left-hand side. Mortar spawns a Goblin. RG looking to make some room, but Mortar picks it up, and now we're about to head into the last minute, Rich, and this seems like a very even match as the Royal Giants on the right-hand side.
There is just no, and you see that Fireball range, GG well played, game number one for Doom. You just take a look at Mohamed Light's deck, and there's one really key problem. You have no stuns or resets for that Royal Giant. There's no log, there's no Electro Spirit, there's no Ice Spirit. There's nothing in there to stun that Royal Giant, and we're gonna go ahead here and take a look at some of the key moments. The balloon sneaking through on the right-hand side for that big catch. The Evo RG on the right-hand side trying to do its work as well. And now we go into game number 2, and it's gonna be Doom going hog here against what looks like Royal Giant.
Yep, Doom switching it up, going some very unexpected decks to start off this duel set. That's what we love to see. That's the exact type of innovation and lack of predictability from a player going up against Mohamed Light that we want to see. Fisherman on the right-hand side is going to be picked up by a Spirit. Goblins to pick up and not allow any damage. In this matchup in particular, Rich, we know both of these players have practiced it time and time again, but it's just gonna come down to how effective this Evo Firecracker is gonna be.
And as you see, Royal Giant set up nice and early. Evo Firecracker in the back. Got to expect not many people running Lightning these days, so should be handled. There you go, Fireball out, Bomb Tower not in cycle. And now you look at this matchup situation, and Ice Spirit and Log are both available when we get into the Evolved Royal Giant situation for much more resets.
Yeah, definitely a lot of great resets and pushbacks with that Log for that Royal Giant. And a little mistake there from Mo, that Barbell only hitting 2 of the Goblins. Not only would have that made more room for the Royal Giant, Mighty Miner and Bomb Tower here going to come down to clean this Royal Giant up without a problem, and also counter push with the Hog Rider. But that slight miss bar barrel on 2 Goblins costed Mo around minimum 500 damage.
So, and look at this. What a play from Doom. Perfect timing there as the Fisherman is distracted, and that's a lot of damage from the Hog Rider. Just getting caught flat-footed here as our world champion.
Yeah, Mo not looking as sharp as he always seems, and Doom looking sharp as ever in this game too. Having some really great control of this match. Fisherman here not going to be able to get to tower, cycling the Evo Firecracker on the left-hand side just to avoid fireball value. This Mighty Miner here is probably going to get the ability popped on this Phoenix to not lose any HP. And this is just going to come down to how well Doom is going to be able to control his Firecracker cycles and also counter push at the same time that he's defending on the right-hand side.
And this time you see Doom a little bit early with the Hog, not letting the Mighty Miner get low enough to tank for it, and now he has to contend with a pretty significant counter push. Lumberjack out in front, takes all the goblins off. Fisherman behind the Royal Giant will turn back around. No, good pickup by the Mighty Miner, so Hog will get a couple of shots there. 9:24 remaining. This Royal Giant does not do much to get through. Evolved Royal Giant queued up for the next one.
Yeah, and I just can't stop praising how well Doom is playing right now under the world champion that is Mohamed Light. Seems like he's just got all his T's crossed and his I's dotted, cycling back to the Mighty Miner for every single defense and putting that Fisherman just not in optimal use for Mohamed Light on every offense. This RG, however, does end up getting 2 shots. Does he get the fireball? Yes, he does. And now we have another reset. Ice Spirit going to come down. Narrow, somewhat slight margin for Dominic as we get into the last minute 30 seconds.
Does Mohamed Light continue to play here in the weak side lane for this matchup here?
100%. He can't afford to really move it too much to the right hand side. This RG going to the right hand side is more so just to cycle and get 2 RGs on the board, which is the proper way to play this matchup. Probably going to see a Fisherman to come in for this middle Firecracker. Barbell, we'll see if we get a protection. No, that's going to cost Doom because it's going to give Molite such an open window for this other RG push on the left hand side. Bomb Tower's here in the middle. He's got to get back to another Mighty Miner on this RG. Bomb Tower goes down, but he's able to defend the RG effectively, does not even get a single shot.
And what a defense on the other side, too, with the Electro Spirit and Hunter working against the Hog Rider. As the Fisherman was distracted, you see here, being forced to spend a little extra is Mohamed Light to keep that Hog Rider from connecting. 30 seconds left, 8:24 to 3:64. Can Mohamed Light break through, or is Doom going to 2-0 the world champion to kick off this match?
EQ cycle commencing. Gotta get back to another one. Already gets the log off, but that log does not hit the tower. That is huge. Hog Rider coming in. Bomb Tower is in cycle, so he will be able to distract the RG. Fisherman pulls, but it's not going to be enough. Ice Spirit to stun does prevent the Hog shot from coming in. RG about to come in on the tower. Is there another Bomb Tower? There is not. RG queuing up for the shot and gets it.
My word! How do you stop him? Is it better to be lucky or good? Well, how about both? Mohamed Light breaking through at the end, and Doom cannot believe it.
Doom just getting gut punched after that last second RG shot. How do you come back from such a heavy blow? My goodness. You got the world champion against the ropes. You think you're gonna take it, playing phenomenally the whole game. And in the last 2 seconds, an Evo RG getting that shot on the tower. Oh my god. He probably had that Bomb Tower in cycle 2, which is really unfortunate. He played that so well. But Rich, game 3, I think it's Doom's time for his bread and butter.
Is this going to be Lava Hound versus Graveyard? Looks like a Splash Yard variation from Mohamed Light, and there you go. Doom going with the Lava Hound against the Barbarians Graveyard. It has become very popular as of late. Talk to me about this matchup, man.
This is going to be interesting because the Evo Barbs definitely changed things up. Dominic, however, he does know how to play this matchup better than anybody else. I feel like Mo, in terms of the decks that he could have used, he picked Splash Yard to be his best deck out of the 2 he had remaining against the possible Lava Hound from Dominic. Evo Barbs being split in the back. And the worst thing for Dominic is that he doesn't have a fireball. I believe he's definitely got a zap comboed with those arrows. So the spell value really isn't going to be there. And it's most so going to be wasted on defending the skeletons from the Skeleton King and the Graveyard. Great arrows there to open the door for these barbs. Have to force something out for Mo. But I guess Mo just recognizes that he kind of got caught looking there with those arrows from Doom, and it eats that damage on the left-hand side.
Graveyard push tanked with the Baby Dragon and Ice Wiz. So this is a lot of damage on the right-hand side, and Doom going to maybe try to go under it and turn into a counter push with the Evolved Barbarians. Does not have a Lava Hound available due to the Elixir situation. What is he going to do here, although Mohamed Light now very low on Elixir?
Misses the zap, but he's got a great dual lane scenario coming in, and Mohamed Light, great recognition, not being able to defend both. This is a beautiful balloon. There's no tombstone, there's no tornado. Poison not even able to be used. That balloon's gonna get minimum 2 shots on tower, maybe 3 because of the Skeleton Dragons. Gonna come down to just 2, but now Mo is in the driver's seat, and this Inferno Dragon, such a great job of containing, preventing Mo from really going in here.
And some tankage in for this Graveyard. Skeleton Dragons and Bomber both working. Poison not getting in the mix here for Mohamed Light. 28 seconds left. Right now, the big damage lead for Doom. But now you have Baby Dragon plus Skelly King on that left-hand tower. 2 Ice Wizards plus a Baby Dragon to body block against this balloon. Can Mohamed Light come back as we get closer to sudden death?
Barbs coming in the mirror, gonna be met with Evo Barbs at the top, so Doom has finally taken some control of the situation. But this is perilous because he can overcommit with some spells, be caught lacking on offense, waste both the fireball or the arrows and the zap, and Mo is going completely in. Arrows are in cycle for Dominic, however, he does defend at the bottom. And Mohamed Light has lost his first set in the Snapdragon Pro Series in the Grand Season finale.
And that is absolutely huge. Mohamed Light winning the losing the duel mode. Definitely not what this team was thinking about. Let's take a look at some of the replays here. Game number 2, this crazy finish here. You see just how far ahead Doom had pulled, and some of these defenses against the Hog Riders just holding on by the skin of his teeth. You see another one here, the Hog Rider not quite able to connect, and then you mentioned that missed log earlier on, not quite getting on the tower. This Hog Rider just barely stopped with the King Tower activation, and then the RG getting the last second shot, and it looked like maybe Doom had let this match slip through his fingers. But set number 1, game number 3, what does Doom do? Comes out with what he's known for, and that Evolved Barbs push under the Graveyard push on the right-hand side. Absolute immediate game changer, Minnie.
Yeah, Doom just played that so well. Such a high level of Clash Royale from both of these players. But that's exactly what we talked about leading up to this match, Rich. When you go up against Mohamed Light, there's no room for hesitation, no room for any sort of nerves. Doom just delivering in every single aspect. Dex on point, gameplay on point, recovering and not letting the tilt get to him, completely on point, and he takes a 2-1 win in a dual format against our world champion.
A phenomenal win here for Doom, and now this sets up a really interesting mega draft because now Lucas comes in with room to play here in mega draft. He's very good in this mode, and he goes up against Faust, who I don't know how deep Faust has played in mega draft, whereas I know for a fact Lucas has played a bunch because he's done it on my channel.
Yeah, interested to see how Faust does in this mega draft format. And right now it's Lucas's time to step up. We've talked about, joked around Lucas getting carried, Mo Light world champion, doing all the work. But now the ball's in Lucas's court. He can deliver for his team and force a set 3 2v2 where both of these players can get into it. But now Mo's got to be feeling somewhat anxious. He's lost his set, and now he could possibly be going out exiting the first round of our season's finale and giving Cashman a right prediction, by the way. That's what scares me the most.
Yeah. If there's one thing that we don't need to do is give Cashman more shine here. And at the moment, very close to doing it will be Faust. As we go into the Mega Draft set mini, I know a lot of people maybe haven't played it as much for a while. Let's go ahead and jump in to our first game as we get into the pick phase. What are some basic keys when you see to Mega Draft picking, in your opinion?
Yes, for sure. It's back to the basics, no Evo, so clean slate. One of the things that is really good for beginners or people just getting into Mega Draft is the hero picks. We all know you can't have more than one hero in your deck. So here, for example, Lucas takes the Monk for his first pick, which is great. It counters a Mighty Miner due to that third shot pushback, and the Archer Queen with its ability. So now Faust has no urge or rush to pick another hero because he knows Lucas cannot pick it.
And we do see the Fireball pick as the first one from Faust. It's interesting. For a while, it felt like Poison was the go-to first spell pick. Why is Faust going Fireball from what you see on the board here as opposed to the Poison?
Feels like there's no miner to really combo that Poison with. Faust does have the drill route open so far, so it feels like that direct impact from the Fireball could combo very well either with that RG or with that drill just to make some room for the win cons to do damage. Lucas, I'm interested to see the route he's gonna go, because in terms of spells, there are no arrows, so he could go with a Firecracker, something to really try to bother Faust. There's not going to be a big small spell for Faust as well. Zap is going to be his main go-to, especially if he's trying to get some bats off the board on offense, which is probably going to be what he ends up picking. But this cannon cart definitely going to force Lucas to go with this Poison later on, because you just cannot let the defense convert into massive offense.
So far, lots of pressure here on the side of Faust's picks, and Drill, no big surprises. Good synergy. Although, are you a bit surprised to see Faust picking that Drill this early, or was it just so obvious that's where he was going?
Definitely feels like his deck was a little bit tailor-made towards that Drill, especially since we've been seeing a lot of Drill Evo Firecracker action from him across other competitions. But Lucas feels like he could go a balloon route, right? But there is no balloon. However, he's also not picking up any real defenses for the Drill. Maybe he feels already comfortable in the guards and the bar barrel, but I was thinking maybe he could go with a Mega Knight to really gear up a push, maybe get a Ram Router behind that as well. But now he's going to be looking to fill in his spell slot and get one more final card to defend the Drills and maybe adjust the offense a little bit.
And that's interesting, right? You look at what's available here for Lucas to pick, and there's not a lot of perfect drill counters, right? You have Exy, which is okay, but the timing can be funky. Is his plan going to be mostly to pop the drill and then barb barrel?
Yeah, the barb barrel's probably going to come in to avoid any serious drill damage. He takes an Earthquake here, surprising. This cannon cart, I feel like he's going to be relying on that Monk ability to shut it down for the most part, but he's definitely relying on his micro and his knowledge of these cards to defend the Drill on a one-on-one basis. But once Faust incorporates those fireballs and those troops, those cannon carts behind those Drills, you know, what if you need the Barbarian Barrel on offense? What if your guards get fireballed? I feel like Lucas should have picked up a Bomber or something of that sort to take care of that Drill.
So bridge spam for Lucas, whereas Faust going Drill, but most of the best bridge spam cards in the deck of Faust. We'll see how this one shakes out as Lucas goes Mortar High aggressive to open up. And I gotta say, I did not necessarily expect the Ice Golem pick here, my favorite card in all of Clash Royale. And we're seeing the Snowman come out as a control mechanism for the Mortar.
Yeah, I gotta say, it is kind of satisfying to see an Ice Golem of all troops come down to defend the Mortar in this 2023 meta. But I do love it because it's gonna be some sort of mini tank for cheap drill pushes. And Lucas going with Ram Rider last pick into an Inferno Tower from Faust, and Faust being forced to fireball and misses up the timing a little bit. 300 damage being taken on that left-hand side. Inferno gonna be forced out here. No real problems for Faust. But in Mega Draft, those little interactions, Rich, could be the difference maker in games where you're not so accustomed to the deck. You don't really know if you're going to be able to get damage throughout the remainder of the match. You're kind of just relying on your micro and your troops to get something done.
And here you see the bar barrel being used to shut down the cannon cart up high. Guards come out as a nice response to the Drill, so keep that in mind as another good way to control that offense from the side of Faust. And now here's kind of an interesting pressure situation. You see the forced fireball play on the right-hand side for Faust. Lucas absolutely ready to go ahead and get a full-on connection for the Ram Rider in the left-hand lane.
Yeah, talking about Lucas feeling some pressure. It doesn't seem to be the case, just really taking it to Faust in this first game of Mega Draft. Monk not gonna have any difficulties with this Ghost. Will we see a Mortar come down with this, trying to take advantage of the Monk? No, we will not. Ice Golem just kites. But looking at Faust's deck here, he does not have any real counters to that Skeleton Barrel. And I don't know if this was just good planning by Lucas or just kind of careless from Faust and not thinking that the Skeleton Barrel was going to be too much of the problem. But Lucas picked the Skeleton Barrel fairly early on and it's proving to be a problem for Faust to deal with.
And you see trying to deal with it by the early Mighty Miner Bomb, so we'll see if that ends up being his go-to choice as time goes on. Inferno Tower to pick up the Ram Rider, guards the opposite end, slow down the Mighty Miner, but what we haven't seen so far is any significant offensive connection from Faust.
Yeah, Lucas going for an ability to protect against a fireball from Faust. And Faust, like you said, not able to get any real offense going. Seems like this deck is really playing to Lucas' strengths of defending and creating some cheap but very smart and significant pressure. He defends and he pressures with cheap skeleton barrels like this. So now this Mighty Miner drill push, if Faust even decides to play the drill, it's not going to be threatening at all for Lucas.
And the Earthquake for Lucas just gonna maybe force a defensive drill out, and it will. So Lucas just playing this one like a tune he's sung 1,000 times. Despite the fact that I almost guarantee you this is the first time Lucas has played these 8 cards in combination.
Yeah, Lucas just doing a great job of playing to his strength, and Faust just talked about seeing much Mega Draft action from Faust, and maybe this is paying dividends. And oh, that fireball misses both the Monk and the Firecracker from Faust, so a little bit of a mistake. And Lucas was also ready with that ability, decides to take a deep breath, go in with some EQ cycles and some cheap skeleton barrels to edge it out in this triple elixir, and it seems all but over for the Brazilian in this match.
Yeah, it does seem like Lucas has this one pretty well sewn up. Get back to an Earthquake, and you know that fireball, it's Faust missed it, but also did not want to hit that Monk, get it reflected. Doesn't matter either way. Game number 1 goes to Lucas here in our Mega Draft competition.
Yep, back to another draft we will go as Faust tries to gather himself together. You know, at the start of that draft we mentioned Faust probably going to take that zap, maybe for some bats or maybe for that skeleton barrel. Did not end up picking it up at all, and that just seems to be what costed him. If we look at his main problem throughout the entire game, it was the lack of a concrete answer to that skeleton barrel throughout the entirety of the match. He was either having to overspend with a drill or pop a Mighty Miner ability, but even then, it just felt like Lucas just outdrafted Faust in this one.
Most certainly did, and maybe you see some of the giving up lots of information early on with the drill being picked. And you know, when I saw Lucas pick the Monk as the very first pick, and then you see on the other side of it Fireball's first pick, Lucas's go Monk, but then you see Cannon Cart as the next pick, as a pick come out for Faust. That did seem like kind of a maybe a little bit of discomfort or lack of focus on Faust's part during that draft phase.
Yeah, I can understand the Cannon Cart to counter the Mortar, but it feels like one of those things where you're counting on the rest of your picks to solve the problems for you, and then they don't, so you're left with dealing with those initial problems that you thought were going to be taken care of. Interesting to see Faust go with the drill, trying to play with his strength. Royal Giant was on the board, but with Lucas's deck, there was really just no room for it. And Lucas just showing us why he is a force to be reckoned with. He is still in the mix, even though CRL has been a little bit of a rocky road for the Brazilian, taking it to one of the world final contenders in this Mega Draft. Let's see how they do in Game 2.
So here we go. We're seeing Poison, Lightning, Freeze, Rocket, Zap, and Rage all on the board. Faust taking Firecracker as the first pick, maybe recognizing that there's really only one decent option spell-wise for Lucas to pick, and Lucas doesn't even go for it. Lucas goes with the Mighty Miner to open up.
Yeah, a poison needs to be taken here from Lucas. A poison or the miner, because poison... Oh, okay. This is going to leave poison and miner open for Faust, but he seems to be going the bait route to not allow Lucas to take too much. Let's see what he goes here, because this is going to be a very interesting one here. He does end up taking the miner, but like you said, there's no log and there's no bar barrel, so the spam units, it's going to be difficult, because one single bridge battle that doesn't go your way, or your splash damaging troop like a firecracker doesn't do her job, and you just have a swarm of troops on your tower.
And mortar the pickup for Faust, and then going with the Goblin Gang. Lucas, very interesting. Where do you see him going? Is he just going to go for Rocket here and not even worry about the... I mean, he has to take the poison. Almost like it seems insane that he wouldn't.
Feels like he's going to end up just taking Rocket, just going with traditional bait. I do like the cannon cart. There is no princess available, and it seems like it's just going to do a really great job of sustaining. However, when we look at bait versus miner matchups, traditionally the miner player does have the matchup. That's usually because the miner's combo with the log and or snowball. The zap is going to be pretty much useless so far, unless Lucas picks some bats for some weird reason. But the zap isn't going to get any troops off the board. Faust does have a Goblin Gang to defend those barrels from Lucas, but then again, that might have to be expended on the Mighty Miners, so this could be an interesting one for sure. Faust definitely has to try to apply the pressure as opposed to letting Lucas take charge in this one. Wow.
And Faust going Lava Miner Skeleton Barrel, and Lucas picking the Electro Dragon for his final
pick.
That's massive. Minnie, talk to me about that.
Massive pick. Electro Dragon we definitely see go underwhelming and somewhat disappointing in the metas, because lightning and big spells are so common, but Lucas here deciding that it's going to be such a great call due to the lack of answers that Faust has for it, and that chain and that control, the sustain that it brings, is not only going to give him time to pressure while he's defending, but it's going to do such a great job at cleaning up the Lava Hound and anything that comes behind it.
And again, nothing for it. There's no big spell for Faust. He's in a zaps over there are absolutely worthless. So let's see if Faust tries to play a pressure game here. Now that this Lava Hound's being worked on, easy King Tower activation for Lucas against the Firecracker. And the Electro Dragon not cleaning up as much as the Miner gets in. It does a good job tanking. Let's see what Lucas can do in reply.
Yeah, but here comes the barrel that we've been talking about. Gonna get completely caught without any elixir, does Faust. Electro Dragon does a good job at making sure this Goblin Gang doesn't transition to too much offense. Faust got a lot of damage on that initial push. It's kind of surprising. Didn't expect that much to come down. I guess some firecracker chip comboed with some miner. That zap as well that he played to reset the cannon cart and the tower. Very, very smart. And when we talk about Lava Hound matchups, we usually see like a Mega Minion or an Inferno Dragon or some Skeleton Dragons to take care of cannon carts like these. But in this one, Faust is going to be forced to spend so much elixir and so many troops, and that's a little bit of a misplay there. That's going to allow the cannon cart to take the entirety of the Skeleton King down and make Faust have to reset and defend for another cycle before getting on with the offense.
And you see front play with the Goblin Barrel. Does get a little bit of chip damage here. Miner comes out, and I'm curious to see as we get into double now and along to triple as well, what ways Faust comes up with to contend with the Goblin Barrels as they start flying fast. The cycle definitely favors Lucas here. When you see he can get a 3-card cycle around, has the Fire Spirit and Stab Gobs to get that Goblin Barrel down very aggressively. Does he wait until triple to start trying to get the poison in the mix?
It feels like it's going to be somewhat necessary for at least a couple of Lava Hound pushes, barring you get 2 Electro Dragons on the field, of course. However, dual lane pressure here from Faust proved to be very significant. Skeletons overwhelming on the left and right hand side. Big strike back from the German, not rolling over and kneeling to this bait pressure from Lucas just yet.
And here we go. Cannon Cart, Goblin Barrel play to the left-hand side. Mortar high, trying to control. Now Lucas does get a few good stabs and almost takes the lead here, but it's the Spear Goblins on the right-hand side giving some good damage to Faust. Both players starting to apply a lot more pressure. Fire Spirit in, Zap to clear, down to just around 300 HP, 325 on that right-hand tower. Lucas now going full send in the left-hand lane. No elixir for the poison. Wow. And if we can pull that replay there for the end to see just how that cannon cart snuck on through, because it really seems like that was an oversight on Faust's part.
Yeah, Faust feels like he was relying on that Goblin Gang to defend the barrel, and the Skeleton King, great job at dealing with the cannon cart and some goblins behind it if necessary. But he used the ability on offense, took the Skeleton King a lot of time to get back into cycle. That's one of the things about heroes as well. You rock a hero, you rock a Skeleton King or a Miner, as opposed to a Knight or a Valkyrie, traditional tanks or glass cannons, what you call it. Definitely proving to disappoint Faust in this one. This just completely breaks through due to the lack of Skeleton King and cycle for Faust.
So here we go. Lucas doing a great job of taking care of business here in set number 2. As people are talking about Mohammed carrying Lucas. Well, maybe it's Lucas who's back starting to feel a little bit stressed out as he takes us to our third and final set. And we're going to go to our 2v2 set here in just a moment after this very short break. Don't go anywhere. 2v2 up next.
Powered by Samsung Galaxy is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, and Monster Energy.
Welcome to the place where dreams come true, where everything you want can be yours, if and only if you're willing to work for them, you're willing to hurt for them, but most of all, you're willing to be first for them. Look, I'm going straight to the top. I don't know how I would stop, like it or not. I got some goals that I'm hitting. You hear what I'm spitting, it's hot. Look what I got, whole lot of passion and pain. The road to success is insane. Stay out my lane, cause I'm on a mission. I'm getting what stands in my way. Yeah, I'm a beast, I wouldn't play with me, baby. The way that I'm training is crazy and I do it daily. You wanna talk about drive? I got more drive than Mercedes. I've never been lazy. I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete? Well, get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt, push through the hurt just to show them my worth. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Yeah, I'm a work through the struggle and hurt, cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Yeah, I gotta be first. Look, I don't want anyone's sympathy. I understand what it's meant for me. I give my focus and energy. If it's meant to be, then it's meant to be. But mentally, I'm undefeated. They hear that and say I'm conceited. Like there's no reason. Like I don't beat them and come back again just to teach them that when you work under pressure, you reach higher measures. They'll try and bring you down, but you cannot let them, and only get better and focus on cheddar. Eye on the prize and you'll become a legend. Like, when I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete, well, get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt, push through the hurt just to show them my worth. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt, cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Yeah, I gotta be first. They don't know what's gotten into me, how'd I turn pain into energy. Through all the struggle and hurt, remember my worth, and that's why I gotta be first.
Welcome back, everybody, for the third and final set of what has proven to be a fascinating match between Mohamed Light and Lucas on one side and Doom and Faust on the other. Mini, you know, we saw some brilliant deck pick work out of Lucas and some good mid-game adjustments, and we saw Doom just really feel like he had Mohamed Light's number. When we go into this third and final set, is that all just in the past? Are we starting from scratch here, or do you think there's going to be some residual confidence or lack of confidence as we go into the 2v2?
I feel like, at least for Doom and Faust, Doom's got to carry over some of that confidence of Faust, especially after dropping the set. Especially Doom being such an energetic and just in the moment person. He's got to carry this over and lock in for this set 3. Mo and Lucas on however, more relaxed, composed, just kind of let their gameplay do the talking. So hopefully that'll be the case today. We'll be able to see both of them locked in. And the deck picking, deck building is going on now. Interested to see, maybe will Dom convince Faust to go the Lava Hound route, or will we see some other traditional decks? And also interested to see the Lucas and Mohamed Light cycle decks again.
Well, interesting thing to note here, I don't believe we have any bans in effect for our 2v2 set, so everything's on the table. How much does the presence of Tornado negatively impact the ability to run lava decks?
In terms of Balloon, definitely plays a big part, but I feel like the presence of Tornado, definitely not the main thing that they would be worried about rocking lava, especially because they just have so many things that the Tornado can punish. If you play Skeleton Dragons or a bunch of troops behind, maybe you get a Tornado pull the balloon off the tower, but in turn pulls the troops towards the tower. Could be somewhat problematic for whoever uses that Tornado. But the lack of bans really just makes it somewhat of a gamble in terms of these deck picks. Sometimes you'll be lucky, you'll have a decent matchup. Sometimes you'll be going up against 2 Evo Firecrackers when you're just trying to run your lava deck. So it's kind of if you get the big straw or the short straw.
Are there any cards in this game mode that you think of must-haves, right? The 2 most commonly banned cards in 2v2 in the past, in the CRL era, you had Tornado was very commonly banned, Poison was very commonly banned, and Lava Hound was very commonly banned. Those are the 3 big ones. How much of those 3 do you think are must-plays as we go ahead and jump in to 2v2, or is it kind of all bets are off here as we go into this set?
Definitely is going to be a mix in between matches. You know, there's just so many good things to play. Evo Firecracker, S tier. Evo RG, S tier. Evo RG, Evo Firecracker, S tier combo. Just have so many different things to play with. Miner with Evo Firecracker and then Evo Mortar to combo. We see Hog Rider come in here with the Tornado Open, as you mentioned. Maybe not uncyclable with that Golden Knight on the upper hand side for Mohamed Light. Definitely expecting that NATO to come through down the line. Fisherman to pick up here. Wall Breaker is going to be NATO to the Ground Tower.
Yeah, and not going to get to the King Tower with the Fisherman in there getting in the way. So not a great start for the Doom Faust combination. Mo and Lucas out to a very early lead, and you make a point here, something I hadn't even thought about, because again, 2v2 was central to CRL for so long. 2 major factors here, of course, the fact that you can have 2 champions and have double 3-card cycle, but in traditional Clash Royale or in head-to-head play, you're not able to have 2 different Evos or 2 Evos at all on the same side. And you mentioned the idea of Evo Firecracker and Evo RG together, which just sounds disgusting.
Oh, 100%. The combos can be just never ending as we get a never ending sequences of BM from Faust. Not sure what's happened here. He's been leaking elixir for the past minute and a half. But back to your question, these synergies and these possibilities, yeah, I'm not sure. It's kind of just
Faust is just tossing. Yeah, I mean, now Doom NATO's the King Tower. Can you talk me through what the heck happened here?
I hope to find out just as soon as you do, because Doom's been playing this out, trying to keep this game alive, and Faust has just been laughing the entire time. That's certainly not the result I anticipated from this one. Let's look at the early damage. I mean, look, the drill got a lot of very early damage here,
as Faust was also. Maybe Faust had a disconnect early on or something. That's the only reasonable explanation I can think of, is that Faust maybe DC'd early on.
Maybe some miscommunication with the decks. I have no real idea, but regardless, that's still going to be 1-0 for Mo and Lucas, who after Mo surprisingly dropping the first set. And no, the decks were coordinated from Doom and Faust, so maybe a disconnect, like you said.
Yeah, I am absolutely thoroughly. That's got to be the only. Yeah, so that's where we're getting word that he did have a connection issue. So that's very unfortunate there for Faust, but you know, those things happen. That's one of the issues of playing in a remote environment, and every player is of course responsible for their own connection. So that's an unfortunate situation there for Faust, but Mini, it does happen.
It does happen, and now is when you just can't let it get to your head. We've seen Doom persevere through that before, but Faust already coming off a bad set, this racking up on top of it. This seems like it can't get any worse for this guys. And it can, you know, losing the set's going to be worse, but in your head, in this moment, if you're Faust and Doom, definitely got to be a little bit upset. And Lucas and Mo just have to try to capitalize on this sort of impatience that's going to come out from Doom and Faust in this next game. They're going to be like, oh, we just dropped this game. Let's just get right back into it. And that's sort of situations where emotions may come over the scale and the micro a little bit. So Mo and Lucas just got to keep their composure. Faust and Doom just...
It's interesting, you know, talk about composure with Faust. Faust obviously very good at staying in it, and he's gotten to the point where now he's on our overall points leaderboard for people chasing CRL, not counting golden ticket holders. He's number 2 on that list. He's made multiple monthly finals for CRL, but there's something maybe in CRL sometimes during the actual monthly finals, we've seen some cracks in the armor. We've seen him not play his best in the Queso Cup, and now here we're seeing him kind of out of sorts. Is consistency Faust's biggest issue? And what is it you think that's causing him to be sometimes absolutely top tier and then sometimes completely out of sorts?
It can just be the little things, you know. We talk about what separates the best players from the pro players that just aren't quite there yet. It's that consistency. Mo, he's going to be consistent 95% of the time. These other players, maybe they'll pull things off 90, 85, 80% of the time. Faust definitely seems to have struggled with that throughout the year, but you can't complain when you're second place in such a long season with so many different factors and different monthly finals. But you talk about that as a wide span of months and months, but this is a span of just a couple of minutes. Will he be able to get his composure together? He doesn't even have, you know, a time to go down to the loser bracket, get his stuff back in order. He's just got to regroup, and he's got a partner that's depending on him too. A partner that came up huge in set 1, so it's just up to Faust if he's gonna fight back or just gonna curl up under the pressure.
What do you think is the safest choice as we go here into game number 2? If you're Faust and Doom, what's the safest pick right now in 2v2?
Drill and Miners, especially with that Evo Firecracker, have to be up there. If we want to talk about Mo and Lucas, we mentioned it before the set even started. Their cycle decks have just been wear and tear to their opponents. This time around, Law comes down, Firecracker gets arrowed down, and we see bait coming down from these guys, which kind of classifies under the cycle tab a little bit. Bomb going to be popped here for this Hog Rider, and Barb's going to do a great job here.
And Hog freeze out of Doom and Faust, going to get a couple of shots from that Hog Rider. Now Wallbreaker sneak through the opposite direction. You know, we talk about 2v2 experience here. Mohamed Light playing as one of the primary 2v2 members for Kick's team in his first season in CRL for 2020 fall. He paired with a lot of different players there to some decent success, overall positive win rate in games, although they did lose more sets than they won. Lucas, on the other hand, was brought onto Pain Gaming in that same season for the CRL West squad and meant to be their head-to-head star, underperformed, and partway through the season they switched things up and Lucas and Wallace became the 2v2 duo that absolutely carried Pain Gaming through all the way past Space Station and into our 2020 World Finals, where of course you guys might know the story of Wallace going 7-0 against Nova Esports to give Pain Gaming that big time win. So lots of experience here. And Mini, I say all of that to talk about this double bait deck, this quad bait deck that was so popular back in old school CRL, and it could not be in better hands in this competition.
Yeah, this time we got 3-card cycles around to make this bait cycle even more intense. Takes less to get back to those bait cards that you love to throw on the board. And talking about that 7-0 from Wallace and Lucas, or well, from Wallace and Lucas being a part of that team, it just feels great to see all these players who are just so well versed in the mode that is 2v2. And from the looks of it right now, it seems like we may even get a rematch between these former teammates in the grand finals, by the way that Mo and Lucas are playing right now.
Very possible. Of course, lots of grounding made for both of those two. The King Tower activations now on both sides, so lots of cannons here in the mix on both angles. Who does the King Tower activation impact more, this double bait deck or this hog freeze deck?
It's definitely going to be the double bait deck, because those two cannons really only let the goblin barrels get 1 or 2 shots if completely left unanswered. This firecracker's going to do a good job of opening the door for these barbarians. And I love the double building from Mo and Lucas. Just Inferno Tower is going to be great versus the Lava Hounds. Double building is going to be great versus the RG. So they're definitely preparing. Wow, that firecracker did a piece on that right-hand side tower.
And that is a lot of damage. Does not get the final shot. 417, Mo and Lucas. Pretty low on Elixir here as well. You see they're behind on damage, behind on Elixir, and now Rocket Cycle in. 859, they have to go for a big hold if they're gonna try to get this one on tower.
And those Evo barbs is such a great source of quick DPS. Bomb comes down, even cleans up. That's gonna be a 1-1 on the board. Rich, what better way to start off the day than with a third set and a third game to end the duel between two of the best teams that we could have asked for in this competition?
Yeah, I mean, this has been out of this world, and this double bait deck, you know, it has lots going for it, but you really have to be able to get your opponents to be out of sorts when you make it work. And this King Tower activation certainly kind of opening up some problems for Mo and Lucas. But it's the Evo Firecracker here. This was still pretty tight, but we're gonna get that Evo Firecracker shot, I think, in just a moment, where suddenly that right-hand tower got burned way down, and this is the Firecracker, not the damage. It got burned way down, and at this point, we're in 2v2. You're essentially in spell cycle range because you have more big spells on each side of the board, right? You look at Doom and Faust, they have Fireball, EQ, and Log, not to mention the NATO, all able to do pretty quick damage on that tower.
Yeah, sometimes one can really overlook the amount of damage that can be done by these spell cycles. And even like looking at Mo and Lucas, Rocket, Fireball, Arrows, Log, that is so much damage, especially, you know, you see the tower at 700 HP, one wouldn't normally think, okay, spell cycle range. Nope, because again, 5 more seconds, tower is down. And I love that Faust and Doom were able to regroup after that game 1 disconnect, really pushing this game to what it's meant to be about, when players face off and the best players who play the best Clash Royale in those determined amount of games win. No disconnects this time around, just great Clash Royale. Some Evo Firecracker shots that were just seemed out of this world, and we're going to a game 3.
Yeah, it's that Evo Firecracker, still a huge problem. I mean, do you think that there needed to be more focus on making sure there was a spell for that Evo Firecracker ready in hand? Did that Fireball need to be waiting, or is the fact that there were 2 Evo Firecrackers available on the side of Faust and Doom, did that create too much of a problem to handle?
That seems like the problem, right? In 2v2 decks, you try to synergize your decks with, okay, one person fireball, the other person a different spell, just kind of get the best of both worlds. But maybe a double fireball from Mo and Lucas would have been great, just to make sure that those Evo Firecrackers never get an opening. And maybe that'll be an adjustment that we see in Game 3, because we know that that Faust and Dominic loved this deck. They were very happy with how that Evo Firecracker played out. And let's be honest, this is a mini meta. They don't play 2v2 professionally. They're not going to have too many other options yelling at them. So maybe we're going to see some adjustments for Mo and Lucas just to really prepare for a repeat of this Hog Cycle deck. And throwing it back a little bit to you, Rich, when you commentated on 2020 CRL, 2019 CRL, when Hog and Bait was a common matchup and Hog generally had that matchup, how do you feel that this plays out a little bit differently with the inclusion of the Evo Firecrackers and Heroes as well?
Well, I think one of the big things is that when you're defending Bait, you're defending Bait low. And you're defending Hog Rider, you're defending it in line primarily, right? So any defense for the Hog Rider that's not NATOing it into your tower is defense that's right on it or that's in the middle, all places where Evo Firecracker can get involved in the mix. Whereas that double Bait deck, you're defending Evo Firecracker typically low. But the big problem is that when you're throwing hog after hog after hog and lining up those shots for the Firecracker, your ability to actually come back and get in line, it's just going to be hard to make up that ground. So we saw the difference in how you have to defend these play out there with the way the Evo Firecracker got involved for Doom and Faust.
Some insight there from somebody who's been watching these 2v2s for a very long time. Into Game 3 we go. We see a Lumberjack in Game 3 straight off the bat from Dominic. So maybe some Lava, maybe some RG. Looks like it may be some RG with the sight of that Ghost. And on the upper hand side, it seems like Lucas and Mo might have repeated the Bait dynamic with some minor adjustments.
Well, you do see the Mighty Miner, and there's the Golden Knight. So some the same, some the different. We'll see if they can get more out of their Firecrackers this time. And you see that, I think,
control.
Yeah, well, I think they're not going with the Goblin Barrel this time around. And again, you see what the problem was. They're talking about it just provided too many ways to defend the Goblin Barrel and Skeleton Barrel that didn't line up Evo Firecracker shots. And of course, they went with Barbs, so that's a big shift as well. Here we're going to go possibly double RG. So we have Inferno Tower, 2 Logs, an Ice Spirit. Do you think that Lucas is also playing a Spirit of some sort for reset, or he's got something else going on?
Seems like Lucas has got a spell, and I feel like it's got to be another support troop. Playing double building again seems a little bit sketchy, but we could of course see a bomb tower from Lucas comboed with the spell, just relying on these Evo Firecrackers to do the main amount of work throughout the course of the match. Already 1,000 damage coming onto the left-hand side tower of Faust and Doom. RG winds up in the back. Kate's going to do a great job of controlling the tempo with these wall breakers. And now is where we're going to start to see those evolutions fly, as both and nearly all of these players are getting to that Evo Firecracker in cycle. But I just got to point out that there is no Evo Firecracker from Dominic. He's up and go with an Evo RG, and so is Faust.
Yeah, double Evo'd RGs, which will be very hard to deal with as we get late in the game. But keep in mind, Fireball looks to be, we don't know what the big spell situation is for Faust, has not shown us card number 8 yet. But they do have 1 Fireball. The question is, does Faust have another way? Of course, they could always Arrows Log, but that's not always going to be an option.
Yeah, double, well, I was going to say double Drill come down, was just 1, but that was a very high value poison. Now we're back to another Evo Firecracker. I think Faust might have a Lightning, it's what's preventing him from really getting enough elixir for those Evo RGs to be comboed with a big spell. Here we're going to see this Evo RG maybe get a shot, and that's going to be huge. It's going to push them into the lead, but watch out for this counter push as this Firecracker lines up on the tower.
Well, you know, one thing we're noticing here is, of course, the Firecracker able to get these nice lineups, and this drill so different in terms of the Firecracker synergy, especially here in 2v2, than a Bait synergy, and we're seeing the result there. But also, take a look at the decks of Faust and Doom. There's only 1 Fisherman there. And if that Fisherman doesn't get involved, something like the Mighty Miner able to burn down the evolved RG, you mix that with the Inferno Tower and then all the resets, it feels like it's going to make it very hard for these evolved Royal Giants to get a lot of damage here.
Yeah, this RG is completely getting ignored by the remainder of the troops. Last second drill comes down. That firecracker, not sure how it didn't get reflected by the monk, but that was a huge saving grace for Mo and Lucas. Another RG comes down trying to capitalize, and now we're getting to that spell cycle range that we mentioned, Rich. A lightning and a fireball, and this thing is over.
And now, can Mo and Lucas full send here? They cannot do it in time. And oh my, the favorites eliminated in the very first round by Doom and Faust. This competition, folks, just blew wide open.
It did, and I can't even be upset. You talk about Mo being so consistent, playing so well, never really getting outmatched or outplayed, but it just seems like this SK Emkers team was so deserving of this win.
Yeah, I mean, they really battled hard, right? I mean, the performance that Doom put up in the first set was phenomenal, and then here they just did a great job of keeping the pressure on. Look at the elixir difference, right? And that's one thing about 2v2 that people have to remember, is that your elixir flows more slowly in 2v2 than in head-to-head play. And if you start getting down a low on elixir, that elixir deficit, it's amplified by the fact that you cannot catch up anywhere near as quickly as you can in a regular matchup, even when you're playing cycle.
Yeah, definitely that seems to have been the key for Faust and Dominic in this one. And Rich, we're down on the prediction score. Cashman just come out blazing, just like these SK Emkers guys going into the, well, typo a little bit there on the bracket. Faust and Doom going to be going to our semifinals. We'll be seeing them tomorrow, in which then they'll be fighting the semifinals and then the grand finals, barring on the remainder of today, where we'll see the rest of the gameplay. And what a better way to start the day. That was a masterpiece.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's so surprised, it seems, that even here, even in this matchup, our graphics operator just couldn't get it through. Like, hey, how did Mo and Lucas not go through? Well, from a great performance by Doom, and you got to give so much credit to him in that dual matchup. Dual mode is, of course, where Mo is so dominant, and so many players would have fallen apart after that game number 2 loss, but instead able to hold on and get game number 3 and take the third and final set. Doom and Faust going on through, but we have 3 more matches today. We'll be back with our second quarterfinal right after this. And welcome back to our Snapdragon Pro Series Season 3 final. If you're just joining us, maybe go back and rewind a bit and catch up on what just happened because, man, the upset of the day and totally Cashman, you called it. I have to give you your flowers here. I think all of us are pretty shocked here. But did it go down kind of how you thought?
I'm just gonna... Sorry, that's my impression of you guys sleeping on Faust and Doom because, oh my gosh, they played phenomenal. You guys gave them all the praise I could have gave them. But one thing that stood out to me was Mo and Lucas didn't look like Mo and Lucas. If you hid their names and asked, hey, who's playing? I wouldn't have said Mo and Lucas. Something seemed wrong. I don't know if there was the distance or something was up, and I don't know what it was.
Well, we're past that matchup and into our second quarterfinal. Another absolute banger. 2019's world champion with Team Liquid, Surgical Goblin, joined by three-time, looking for his fourth world finals in Vitor 75. On the other side of things, one of the most popular content creators in all of Turkey and former world finalist Aslan, paired with Omer, who has currently in the top 60 for our CRL points rankings and certainly trying to make a big push here in this competition. Let's look at our lineups for our first team. Surgical Goblin taking the dual mode matchup and Vitor in the Mega Draft slot. And by expectation here, let's go take a look at our other team, is that Aslan will be the dual mode player here against Surgical Goblin, but we could always be in for a pretty big surprise when we get into our second squad. Cashman, first of all, with this lineup, you think this is the right call? I personally love seeing Vitor in the Mega Draft pick. Is that what you do here as well?
I would do the exact same thing. I 100% agree with you. And, oh, okay, you called it as well on the Aslan coming out for the duels and Omar coming out for the Mega Draft. It's funny because I want to say that Aslan is criminally underrated. People forget he's a world finalist, and there's a reason he was a world finalist, because he's good at Clash Royale. But if we're looking at another player on the other team, Vitor is one that stands out to me as criminally underrated. You could make an argument that he's a top 5, top 10 player in Clash Royale easily. He has the skills, but I find he makes a couple of uncharacteristic mistakes where he makes mistakes at the wrong time. And sometimes mistakes can be... you can't make mistakes at this level. You have to play perfectly. And Vitor, he's made those mistakes.
Well, those mistakes haven't hurt him too much. Currently 4 slots out of the top 7 for World Finals contention for Clash Royale League. And here he's paired with, people might not know this, Vitor and Surgical Goblin, very, very good friends, longtime friends. They love playing together, and they've put together a really cool duo for this competition. You know, you look at these 4 players, you have a world champion, you have a 3-time world finalist, you have a 1-time world finalist, but the odd man out here is Omer, who is certainly a talented player in his own right, has been competing since 2019, has represented his country many times overall in international competition. But man, it does feel like, if you're Omer, do you feel any nervousness when you look across and you're like, wow, I'm up against Surgical Goblin and Vitor?
Yep, that is the answer. 100% yes. But this is also a great opportunity because Clash Royale, with the format, there's always new players rising up the ranks. And all you need is that opportunity to do so. And this is a great start to get that opportunity. Taking down the caliber players of Surgical Goblin and Vitor, if you are able to do that, that is an immediate jump where people look at you and are like, oh, Omer, okay, next time I see him in a tournament, maybe I'll tune into his game because he did do pretty well in this one set. It's just, you just gotta start building that reputation, and it all starts here.
It all starts in our duel set, which is going to be Surgical Goblin against Aslan in this one. Surgical Goblin has been doing a good job in duels. People are kind of like, whatever happened to him? Well, I'll tell you what happened to him. He took some time off, and then at World Finals last year, told the whole world, I'm on my way back. I'm getting ready. And ready he is, currently sitting 15th on our global leaderboard to qualify for Worlds at points. So just a few slots out of that top 7 to make it to World Finals. Whereas Aslan has been been a lot quieter this year. After making World Finals last year, Aslan really has not been going that hard. Currently in the top 70 overall, but not having the same results he had last year. So right now, the stock up for Surgical Goblin. We'll see if Aslan can take a set that really has seemed to play very well for Surge, who's made multiple group stages and hopes to make a monthly final soon. And we'll find out right now, Cash, as we jump in to our first set, dual mode, Surgical Goblin versus Aslan.
Yeah, Rich, am I mistaken with saying the reason Aslan was in the World Finals, didn't he win the golden ticket through the Snapdragon Pro Series? Is that correct? I can't remember.
You know, that might be the one that
Sounds familiar.
I think you might be right there. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick double check on that one, but that may have been the way he qualified for Worlds that year.
So this could be his tournament.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just take a quick look here to confirm that one. And he did come in second twice in the Europe middle the EU. Yeah, so I believe was that the Golden Edition? I don't know if they named it that way, but he came in second twice in the EU region, EU MENA region, and I believe that second place is to Mohamed Light, who was giving away golden tickets. So
the classic. Yeah, good old Mohamed Light. He's a giver. He loves to give. And even today, giving a win to the boys at SK and MKers. And looking at this game, okay, Hog Rider at the top and then Royal Giant at the bottom. And this is a matchup where we've seen it so many times, but it doesn't seem like there's like a clear matchup advantage. It seems like there is a lot of outplayability.
Well, you know, you also have to put in this really key factor, and that is evolutions can just explode a game in moments. And that's been such a major issue where you can play a game pretty much perfect for a very long time, and then one tiny slip, one tiny moment, and next thing you know, suddenly it has run away from you. So that's really kind of the challenge here of these evolutions, which rumors have it that we might be seeing some adjustments to them very soon with our next balance update. So a lot of people have their fingers crossed about that one.
Yeah, and already seeing the Firecracker get a big shot on that right side tower. It still looks so weird seeing how much damage it does. It is so threatening, and I wouldn't be surprised if Aslan, every single time he sees the Evo Firecracker, he just fireballs it. Just get it out immediately. And ooh, a little hog push on the left side here.
And Hog gonna do some work here. Fisherman does get in. King Tower already activated, not played very high. And the lead heavily for Surgical Goblin here. And let's keep an eye on how he handles this first evolved Royal Giant push. Gets the Inferno Tower down, and the Barb Barrel does not get out in front. So that Royal Giant gets absolutely scorched as he now doubles down for the second push.
Yeah, and this is awkward because is he going to try to defend this without using the Inferno Tower? No, does get back to another Inferno Tower, and that is as clean of a push as I've seen Surgical Goblin do. That looked very, very easy, and this is his opportunity to go in with a Hog Rider on the left. Are we going to see it? Are we going to see it? Surge, don't leave me hanging. No, he's going to... You know what? He has the lead. He doesn't have to be aggressive right now. Time is his ally. We saw him defend cleanly, and all he has to do is just keep doing what he's doing, and now he has an Evo Firecracker to help him defend even easier.
Well, he's also was reading the most important factor there, which was the evolved Royal Giant was in cycle, right? So you start throwing that 4 elixir. Sure, you're trying to pressure the opposite direction and force some expenditure, but then you see Aslan can defend with the Fisherman, put that behind the evolved Royal Giant, and now you've made a -1 trade that could push the opposite lane. So very smart, very methodical play here by Surgical Goblin as he continues to maintain this lead, but of course this can get dangerous as we get into our later hours.
Yeah, and we've seen it where one Royal Giant push, especially in triple elixir, can be the difference between winning and losing this matchup. Single elixir, double elixir, it seems like Hog Rider is in at least complete control, but you have to get that damage lead, which Surgical Goblin has right now, but you also have to make sure, like you said, you don't overcommit, you don't get that elixir disadvantage, and you just don't get overwhelmed by the double Royal Giant push. And even these Phoenixes and Lumberjack have been putting in work like that. Phoenix on tower, 1-shot, 2-shot, death damage from the egg. It's starting.
At some point, Surge has to stop giving fireball value on those towers. We might start seeing some more of the Fisherman in the or the Firecracker in the middle. For now, though, we're still seeing Firecracker played low, Barb Barrel out to predict the Inferno Tower. Inferno goes to the outside rather than the inside. Does Surgical Goblin have a reset for this? He does get one down, skeletons behind, Ice Spirit to help, and that's really the key here to defending these Royal Giants is get room for your skeletons to do some damage by those resets. Huge, huge Firecracker plus Hog Push. Firecracker gets that damage on the left-hand side way down. 25 seconds left. This is a huge defense that has to be done perfectly by the former world champion.
And this Firecracker's is still alive. The Firecracker was played at the bridge. The Evo Firecracker was at the bridge, went all the way back to the Princess Tower, and now is supporting this Hog Push. And I think Aslan, he's just throwing in the white flag saying, okay, Evo Firecracker, you win this game. But because it's duels, at least you won't have to see it again.
That's true. So Inferno Tower, Firecracker, log all out, plus EQ for Surgical Goblin. RG, Fishboy, not a lot of other things that go to different places here. So pretty clear, we'll probably see most likely either a drill, maybe Ram Rider, obviously Royal Giant in the mix. Although we've been seeing two things, Ram Rider bridge spam, we've been seeing old school bridge spam with the Battle Ram.
I love that deck.
Wow, just going out with a straight RG behind King Tower to open. Here is Surgical Goblin.
I love this. I love this. You beat your opponent's deck, and then you use your opponent's deck and say, okay, you know what? You lost with this deck? Let me show you how to win with this deck. And let's see if Surgical Goblin's able to do that, because this Royal Giant push is really good. Fisherman does grab the Skeleton King, and Barb Barrel gets not all the skeletons, so maybe a little bit of a misplay, but Royal Giant on tower does get one shot, does get two shots, and just like that, already in the lead.
Fireball is really big for Surgical Goblin here, but keep in mind that if he doesn't win this game, he's going to have some interesting things to deal with when he goes against what I assume would be a Firecracker in game number 3. And this is interesting. Look at the slowdown plus the NATO to pull back here for the Royal Giant. Great splash yard pick from Aslan in game 2.
Yeah, and great recognition from Surgical Goblin, seeing that the Barbs were out of cycle and the Tombstone was out of cycle, and he had his Evo Royal Giant in cycle because he played the Royal Giant so early in the game that he's like, okay, I'm just going to play at the bridge, you're going to have to overspend, and I'm going to have an easy defense, and now absolute complete control. Look at the elixir difference right now. Yes, you do have to deal with this Skeleton King, but Phoenix comes down, and Surgical Goblin is in absolute control. Electro Spirit for this? No, goes with the Barb Barrel. I like what Surgical Goblin's doing right now, but the longer this game goes on, it kind of scares me a little bit because Splash Yard, it just does Splash Yard things.
Splash Yard does Splash Yard things indeed. The Electro Spirit and Goblins will both be key factors here. And Aslan just kind of surprisingly, and he's opting to go for give up damage and create a really nasty counter push, but he has very little elixir for this. So he's going to get some damage because those evolved barbs are thicker, but he's not going to get what he'd hoped for there. And now he's going to end up with some damage and a slight elixir lead, but is that going to be enough for him in this situation?
Yeah, it scares me because I like what Surgical Goblin did at the beginning of the game, recognizing, okay, my opponent has an awkward cycle. I'm going to get in, I'm going to get the damage lead, but now that we're in double elixir, he's probably not going to get that opportunity. Splash Yard has a ton of tools to deal with Royal Giant. We saw that the Ice Wizard was really good. We saw the Tombstone be very good, but also that Tornado, it's going to be, this is where it gets sketchy for Surgical Goblin, and this is where it's going to showcase. Does he know this matchup? Does he know the late game, how to win this matchup?
And Evo to RG right at the bridge. Fireball, pre-fireball onto the barbs, but you do have the Ice Wiz NATO combination to slow this RG down. Just keep the Royal Giant from firing. That's the big key here, so you don't get that big knockback effect. So far, no shots on the tower yet. I think this will be enough. Does get one. Huge shot, and so now Aslan starting to feel the pressure as we go into sudden death.
Evo Royal Giant is inevitable. You can't stop him. Even with all the tools you were saying, he's got the Ice Wizard, he's got the Tornado, he's got the Tombstone. It's still not enough, but I also like how Surgical Goblin, this is going to get kind of awkward here. Really good time with the Barb Barrel Fireball, too, getting rid of everything. And I like what Surgical Goblin's doing. He's going in, but he's also dealing with the defenses of Aslan. So Aslan's not being able to get a really good counter push, and we know that that's what Splash Yard loves to do.
Well, it's so hard because Surgical has the Phoenix to control the baby dragons really easy. I mean, that's just a nasty matchup in favor of Surgical right up there. But then also the ways he has to deal with graveyards, if you even get them in, are the Lumberjack is so underrated as a method for dealing with that. And we kind of haven't thought about it for a long time because Lumberjack wasn't in the meta really until the last couple of months. It was very out of the meta, but people forget about just that attack speed, how good it can be. And now it's just Surgical Goblin putting pressure on. And whenever Aslan wants to have a counter push, there's like almost a 1-for-1 answer to every piece of his deck.
Surgical Goblin, I feel like I'm watching Surgical Goblin in 2018, 2019, because he has been playing impeccable. There has been no opportunity for Aslan to do anything. It must be so frustrating playing this matchup, because right now, that Fireball might be a little bit of an overcommitment, because you still have to defend this big push with double Baby Dragons. No, Fireball comes in. That's going to be GG. There was an opportunity there, but Surgical Goblin closed the door on Aslan before the game even started.
Yeah, I mean, it was a phenomenal deck pick there, and you know, this Splash Yard deck has been a little bit more popular, but when you have RG Fireball open as your opponent for an option in game number 2, it does seem like a pretty rough call to make. I really wonder what Aslan was putting Surgical on in game 2 that he decided to go with that pick, because obviously you can see how it worked out, but just not ideal. The most of the RG Fireball variations have a lot of the right pieces to contend with that. And we saw here in game number 1, the dual lane pressure working very well for Surgical Goblin. But here, the story in game number 2, the Evo Barbs, the Barbs weren't able to do very much, but also just the ability for Surgical Goblin to easily contend with the bridge fights and then break through. The Tombstone not going to hold very well. And the NATO, you think this NATO Ice Wiz combination would do a great job, but if you don't have the DPS on the Royal Giant to back it up, you're not going to get much from it. And if you look at the deck of Aslan, unless the Barbs are doing their job on the Royal Giant, there's not a lot of DPS to get it off. So all you're doing is delaying the opportunity for Surgical Goblin to make a bigger downhill push. And that's what we saw, dual mode, set number 1 in favor of Surge.
Yeah, Surgical Goblin played phenomenal. And I was asking, you brought it up that last year he said, hey, I will be back. I will be back with weapons. And right now he is coming out with weapons of mass destruction. He made that game look easy. And we were talking about Aslan being underrated. He is a world finalist for a reason. It's weird too, because I thought I was told that the reason Splash Yard with that Barb variation came into the meta was to counter Royal Giants. And it's hard to tell that it didn't look like a good matchup, but there's two things that could happen. Maybe Surgical Goblin just played it really well and knew the matchup, or maybe Aslan just had a rough start and just couldn't get that momentum, because Clash Royale, it is a momentum-based game where if you get that a lead early on, a lot of times, if you just don't let your opponent ever back in, you just lose. It's frustrating, but that's the way Clash Royale works sometimes.
Well, I wonder if that version with the with either a better way to defend the Barbs, or maybe with a Phoenix instead of the Baby Dragon, does better there. Because again, the issue was he could slow down the Royal Giant, but he couldn't kill it. Right? The RGs were still getting tower damage, even though they were being slowed and blocked and pulled back. There was no actually getting it off the board there. So the Fireballs taking the Barbarians off the board very easily. The best matchup for that deck is like against things like Minor Wall Breakers. Of course, it shuts down Hog very nicely. That RG matchup did not really go in its favor.
No, not at all. And it's funny because maybe I'm trying to oversimplify the meta, but the three evolutions that we see Firecracker, we see Royal Giant, and we see the Barbarians. We see occasionally Mortar, but we also never see the Skeletons. And there's almost this rock, paper, scissors relationship going on where Firecracker beats Barbs, Barbs beat Royal Giant, and Royal Giant beats Firecracker. And I don't know, is there merit behind that? Am I making stuff up on the fly?
You know, there's some conversations that could be had there, and we'll have those right after this very short break.
Welcome to the place where dreams come true. Where everything you want can be yours. If and only if you're willing to work for them. You're willing to hurt for them. But most of all, you're willing to be first for them. Ha! Look, I'm going straight to the top. I don't know how I would stop, like it or not. I got some goals that I'm hitting. You hear what I'm spitting? It's hot. Look what I got. Whole lot of passion and pain. The road to success is insane. Stay out my lane, cause I'm on a mission. I'm getting what's...
And we are back ready for set number 2 in this quarterfinal between two very talented teams, Surgical Goblin and Vitor on one side, and we just saw Asla and his teammate Omer coming up next here in our second set, the Mega Draft set. And this will be fascinating. I know Vitor has lots of experience in Mega Draft. What we don't know is Omer's experience, and Omer tends to lean on cycle decks. And Cashman in Mega Draft, it's often hard to really build a true cycle deck just because of the nature of the game mode.
Yeah, Mega Draft, it is my favorite mode. I got a lot of hate on Twitter for saying that, but it is my favorite mode. And the one thing, I tried to make a video about tips for duels or tips for drafting in Mega Draft, but I couldn't think of any concrete tips because every tip is conditional. It was like, tip works if this situation, but not in this situation. Because you have to adapt. You have to be able to look at the board, look at what your opponent's drafting, and be able to kind of change on the fly. And if you're stuck to one archetype like Omer, where he prefers one cycle deck, well, your opponent knows that, can counter it, and then put you in awkward situations. And we already said that Omer might have some pressure in this scenario. With Aslan losing that first game, yeah, the pressure might be even higher now.
Yeah, it might be very high indeed. And, you know, I think there are actually some pretty good tips for Mega Draft. I would say that the first couple of ones, the first thing I do when I'm in Mega Draft is I scan the spells and I scan the champions. Right? Looking at those two situations, because do you have certain champion matchups that inherently lean one way, right? Is the Monk and Archer Queen both on the board? And how much does that influence that pick? With your spell picks, right? If you see that there are hey, there's no Fireball and there's no Poison, for example, well, now you're going, hey, look at all the cards that are weak to Fireball or weak to Poison. Sometimes you might go, hey, I have first pick. I see Fireball out here. I also see Flying Machine. I see Zappies. I see Royal Hogs, right? So I'm looking at that spell pick first and going, how does that make the cascade of this draft come together, right? If I pick Fireball, are you going to pick Flying Machine? And then on knowing that I can go there every single time, are you going to try to pick multiple things are you trying to make a Fireball bait deck out of it? Or can I take Fireball, you don't take Flying Machine, next thing you know, I have a Flying Machine that you can't do anything about, as one example. So spells first, champion second is sort of my overall point. And then the two other things I would say are, don't draft your win condition early, draft your win condition late. And then the other one is, as we had a great point from Mini Minter earlier, if your opponent picks a champion, wait on picking your champion until later because they can't pick two.
No, that's perfect. And it's crazy because you just talked for, what, a couple of minutes and talked so much depth about just the draft. We haven't even talked about the gameplay yet. That's the draft. It's almost like there's two games in one where you can win a game before the game even starts just by winning the draft. And that's why I love this mode, because it feels like it's two games in one. I know people hate the whole draft. It takes too long, blah, blah, blah. But there is so much strategy. There's so much.
You have to think about draft as part of the game, not separate from the game. And that's where I think people and it depends on your personality, right? But say that you watch League, right? Well, the draft is a key part of League. That's a huge part of the conversation. Now, there's a big ratio there, right? You play 45 minutes of a game after you've actually done your drafting portion of it. But here we're talking about Mega Draft. The draft doesn't really take that long, and it's really so fascinating to see the evolution of choices that go on. If you view the draft as part of, not separate from the game that you're watching, that's where I think it becomes really fascinating, because it is part of the game.
Yeah, it is part of the game, and we've talked about how important, I guess I talked about it, how important making a deck is. We know people can play the game, but can they make a deck? And the way that Mega Draft kind of puts you into a certain scenario where it's like, hey, you have these cards to make a deck. what are you going to do? What cards are you going to pick? How are you going to beat your opponent? You have opportunities, but only that, but you have to use your knowledge of the game. You have to know, okay, this card's good in these scenarios. This card's good against this one. It's the exact same as where like Electro Giant is one card that I always look at where it's like, oh, whoa, 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 there's not a lot of Electro Giant counters in my opponent's deck. Let's take Electro Giant. Oh, you won the game just like that. One card can make a difference in draft. And I'm excited. I'm excited.
Well, we are, speaking of excitement, we'll have to hold that excitement for just a couple more minutes as we are having some technical challenges with one of our players. We're going to get those solved as quickly as humanly possible. So if this is your time, if you're like, hey, I am ready for Mega Draft, go ahead, get your popcorn ready, get whatever you're drinking, get your sodas all ready to go, and be back here in a couple of minutes where we kick off this really phenomenal Mega Draft set.
Welcome to the place where dreams come true. Where everything you want can be yours. If and only if you're willing to work for them. You're willing to hurt for them. But most of all, you're willing to be first for them. Ha! Look, I'm going straight to the top. I don't know how I would stop, like it or not. I got some goals that I'm hitting. You hear what I'm spitting? It's hot. Look what I got. Whole lot of passion and pain. The road to success is insane. Stay out my lane, cause I'm on a mission. I'm getting what stands in my way. Yeah, I'm a beast. I wouldn't play with me, baby. The way that I'm training is crazy, and I do it daily. You wanna talk about drive? I got more drive than Mercedes. I've never been lazy. I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete? Well, get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt, push through the hurt just to show them my worth. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Ha. Yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt, cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Ha. Yeah, I gotta be first. Look, I don't want anyone's sympathy. I understand what it's meant for me. I give my focus and energy. If it's meant to be, then it's meant to be. But mentally, I'm undefeated. They hear that and say I'm conceited. Like there's no reason. Like I don't beat them and come back again just to teach them that when you work under pressure, you reach higher measures. They'll try and bring you down, but you cannot let them, and only get better and focus on cheddar. Eye on the prize and you'll become a legend. Like, when I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete? Well, get better first. I got 10 toes in the...
And we are back. Very unfortunate news here. Omer, from what the rumor I've heard is that he's on an airplane. So Omer, unfortunately, whether he's on an airplane or doing something else, not able to participate. So that is going to be a forfeit and a free round 2 win for Vitor, which means Vitor and Surgical Goblin going through to our next round. I don't know if we have the bracket prepared to show the results from that one. Oh, yes, we do. Let's take a look here. So our second round matchup is going to be Faust and Doom in our semifinals tomorrow against Surgical Goblin and Vitor. And that's going to be a really phenomenal matchup. Maybe not the one people expected because of Mo and Light. Mo and Lucas losing early, but either way, it's the one that we're getting. It's going to be a banger, which sets us up now for our third quarter final match. Nate and Asaf against the Polish power of Inthrill and Titan. And Minnie, this is interesting because Nate and Asaf, both very talented players. Of course, Asaf, top tier drill player, has been up on the upper echelons of ladder. But you have Inthrill and Titan. You have guys who have experience together. How much does having been friends and teammates and played together so much factor into a situation like this one?
It's definitely crucial to have that chemistry with your partner, especially in a competition where you're both taking equal share in sets that are so important. One thing that I really like about this team in particular, like you mentioned, Rich, Asaf, the drill person, the go-to drill king, finishing number 1 on ladder with it. Nate, the minor one trick. And this comes particularly into effect in 2v2, where you can combo both of those win conditions, and it's just really sensational to see their 2v2 gameplay.
Cashman, as we go into this one, we have kind of a tight matchup here. You have Inthrill and Titan, both maybe a little underrated in this one. Are you going to lean on, as we see these lineups here, are you going to go with the Inthrill Titan partnership, or do you think the ladder prowess of the Asaf Nate team ends up taking the day?
Oh, I'm going to go with Asaf and Nate are under. No, I think you're right. I think both teams are underrated, but watching Asaf, he's a player that I like to watch. Even Nate as well, because yes, you said that they are a one trick, but they're one trick at cycle decks. In cycle decks, we've seen players be able to master cycle decks and then transition into playing a control deck or a beatdown deck super flawlessly. If you know how to play a cycle deck perfectly, or a drill deck or a minor control deck, you can play any deck in Clash Royale, and I know for a fact that Asaf and Nate can do just that.
So we're getting that prediction here on the side of Cashman. Now, Minnie, you have a little bit of an advantage here. You can see those matchups where it's going to be a Soft versus Titan in the duel mode. Titan currently ranked in almost in our top 40, actually ranked 40th overall in CRL, which is duel modes. Asaf not ranked in that top 100. What does that do for your picks here in this one? And it looks like you're going Asaf and Nate, or are you going to go Titan and Thrill?
Definitely taking the Asaf and Nate route. What I've seen from these two in 2v2 just really makes it really hard for me to bet against them. One of the things that I look for in terms of the better players in the game is their ability to push their limits with their one trick. And it feels like the best of both worlds when you can get a 2v2 environment where both of them can complement each other based off the synergies of their one tricks, whereas in actual viable 2v2 decks, not to mention their 1v1 prowess on their ends.
Well, I'm the odd man out here. I'm going to go with Titan and Thrill, and because I think they're going to win one of those first two sets, and this is going to come down to the 2v2, and the synergy of two close friends who play a lot together, who speak the same native language, for example, all those things together, I think that's going to give them a slight advantage in 2v2. So that's my pick for the third one. So we'll see. Cashman, you were the odd man out. It worked out well for you in our first set. Maybe it works out well for me here in our third matchup for our quarterfinals. And of course, we do have one more quarterfinal after this one, so lots of Clash Royale to be played. Let's go back, though, of course, to the Clash Royale right in front of us, this dual mode set, and the matchups for this dual mode set. On the side, and we do get Asaf versus Titan in dual mode. Many, as I mentioned, Titan has the advantage in CRL. As we go into game and I leave this matchup to the two of you, do you think that carries over here into our first set, this dual match between Titan and Asaf?
Nope, I don't think it will. I don't think it will. I think it's soft, even though he's behind in the rankings. I think he's going to show what he's capable and what he's shown that he's capable of in this Snapdragon Pro Series before. He's done really well in tournaments. And I think, Minnie, did you mention that the chemistry that Asaf and Nate had in 2v2, they came third place, isn't that correct?
Yeah, I believe so. Podium was definitely there. Let's see if the power of friendship will be enough for Titan and Inthril in this one, as we already see Asaf going with that patented drill firecracker Evo in this first game as Titan opens things up with Royal Giant.
Yeah, who saw that coming? Who saw that coming? If you saw that coming, if I saw that coming, if Rich saw that coming, well, you would assume that Titan saw it coming as well. So he thinks that this is the deck that he feels comfortable beating Asaf with. The problem is, I've seen Asaf play so much drill on ladder and be able to beat even the hardest matchups. When we say he's a one trick, it sounds like a negative. No, he's a one trick because he's a trick with this deck. You can't beat him with this deck. So I'm excited to see what Titan's gonna do to break through these defenses, because the Inferno Tower, the Firecracker, the Mighty Miner, he has a really quick cycle as well, Minnie.
Yeah, this Inferno Tower is going to be really problematic for Titan to get past, especially considering the fact that Fireball has been in almost every RG deck since Evolutions have been added, just because of that Evo Firecracker. And Asaf, of all people, knows how to play against RG with Drill. Kind of a gamble from Asaf's end. You know, Titan might have gone RG, you know, maybe because Asaf is waiting to not get predicted by the Drill, but he goes ahead and plays that Drill in game one. It's a little bit of a mind game. But here we see a wind-up push from Titan and a Barbaro to clean up this Firecracker. Wow, that Spirit not going to the Skeletons was huge, because now this Firecracker is going to be super dangerous on... Oh my god, and it's still alive!
Yeah, and that Fisherman grabbing it with 1 HP was the absolute MVP. This should be a really easy defense here for Asaf. Inferno Tower is going to rip through that Evo Royal Giant. But I'm kind of scared for Asaf right now, just because we've seen this matchup, well, not with Drill, but with Hog Rider, where the Hog Rider player gets off to an early lead. They deal the damage in single and double, and then in triple, that's when Royal Giant overwhelms. But this game, 2-6-6-9 on the bottom, 2-8-4-5 on the top, it's way too close for this situation.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to tell, especially once we get into that triple elixir like you mentioned, Cashman. Those double RG pushes are going to be what Titan needs to do to try to make some room in this one, just on a one-on-one basis. It seems like Asaf has all the answers. and those drills combo with fireballs are going to be a problem, but no fireball here today. Going to be Tornado, the last card in the soft stack. Ability here is going to come down from this Mighty Miner to clean up and conserves its HP, and he'll be back to another Firecracker very soon, alive, and this Inferno Tower is going to go to work.
This push is terrifying. That Royal Giant is still very healthy. Yes, there's an Evo Firecracker, but it doesn't have a lot of DPS. Tornado comes out to pull it away. Skeletons to help out. Will the Royal Giant get one more shot? Well, with the help of the log, that is not the case. This Firecracker's been on the field a long time. Is Asaf going to get any more value with it? I'm surprised he had 6 Elixir. I'm surprised he didn't support that Evo Firecracker, because we saw what Evo Firecrackers do. They deal a lot of damage. So if he's going to win, he's got to utilize that Evo Firecracker and get maximum value from it every single time.
Yeah, gotta look for an opening when Fireball isn't in cycle, just to try to get it at the bridge without it being to be able to be neutralized in an instant. Ice Spirit here gonna do a good job of freezing up this RG, and the lack of a Fireball here might be problematic for Asaf, just because he's going to be able to get the drill on tower. The defenses will come down, but it's gonna be much harder as opposed to cycling drill fireballs like we know he's so used to doing.
This defense looks terrifying. Yes, Evo Firecracker comes down. Yes, Tornado comes down, but 3 Elixir in hand. Ice Spirit comes down. Log comes down. But we know Titan has another. Oh, that's already a hit. That's 2 shots. And right now, Asaf needs to be aggressive, but he can't, because he has to focus so much on defense. So much Elixir to make sure these Royal Giants don't get on tower. But every single time, it doesn't matter. Ooh, good Tornado to pull the units away from the Goblin drill. Goblins do not get on tower. Fisherman does come down. And it sucks, because yes, you got a little bit of damage, but you're still behind, and you still have to defend this Royal Giant. And ooh, interesting, pulling the Royal Giant away. There's 15 seconds. Is this Royal Giant even going to get on tower? Because there is a world where Asaf goes in with this drill, gets enough damage, and just stalls this game with tornadoes. I have never seen this before. He's not even defending. He's just stalling, and it's not going to be enough. If there was a little bit less time on the clock, that might have worked, but I like Asaf kind of doing something that's untraditional, trying to figure out a way to win, even when his back is against the wall.
Yeah, tactics there, definitely the right idea from Asaf, but time just not in his favor as both players wind up to deck 2. RG being used from Titan. Asaf going with that drill. Fireball open for Asaf in this game. Maybe we'll see a little bit of RG or some cycle action on his end. Titan has the entire field open. Maybe we'll see some Expo. We know he loves playing his Expo on ladder. Very rare to see it in duels, but hey, what better time to pull it out than right now? Hey, what you got against Expo?
Mini, let's be real. Expo. We're not seeing Expo today. There is no, until Evo Expo comes out, which I hope never happens, we're not seeing Expo today. I will guarantee it.
Cashman, as a person who has bet against Mohamed Light 10 times, why are you telling me something we're not gonna see?
You know what? If it happens, I'm in for it. I always love to see Expo losing. Yeah, if there was a world we see Expo, I guarantee it will also lose, because it is not the best deck. But speaking of good decks, we're seeing Lava Hound at the top, and then Titan going with this bridge spam. It's like a bridge spam bait with the Evo barbs, and this is going to be a weird matchup because neither player could really defend. So it's just going to be exactly what we see. Barbs at the bridge on the left side, that's going to take tower. Most likely we see Asaf support this with either a miner or a balloon on the right side, and we're going to see that take tower. Ooh, barbs on the left for Asaf. So this is going to be all aggression, pedal to the metal action, and there's going to be a 3 crown in this game.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you defend this? But great kite there with the wall breakers from Titan, and Asaf's going to try to capitalize on these barbs, but just not going to be enough elixir and cycle to do so. Kind of caught looking, those Evo barbs just lining up on the tower and just being a complete menace. Minute 30 and already less than 2,000 HP left on Asaf's King Tower. It'd be super hard for him to get into this game, more so just because he can't afford to lock in with a lot of push from the back.
He's leaking a lot. Did he not know that he was up by 5 elixir?
Yeah, I guess not. Must not be aware of the fact, but Titan's definitely going to look to punish this unless Asaf's just disconnected and let this game go. No, he's still fighting it out, but that's definitely 5 leaked elixir that could have been put to such a better use. This right-hand side tower is going to go down to 221 HP. Still not in arrow range, but not very far from it. Lava Hound going to come down here. No, ops to play safe, like we mentioned, with a safeguard troop in the middle. Lava Hound's going to come down in front here, and now he can try to get the big lava loon push down. but there's just so much damage on that King Tower. I'm not even sure if it matters. Evo Barb is going to clean up the Barbarian Barrel and going to also be a great counter push. But this Dark Goblin is putting in so much work on this Lava Hound Cashman that it doesn't seem like a Soft's going to be able to break through.
I don't know. This Balloon coming in on the right side with the Barbarians. There is a world where a Soft can tie this game up. Does he have anything for this Goblin Barrel? Arrows come down. Balloon does get on tower. Does he take this tower? That is going to be enough.
Takes it.
Barbarians get on tower. So there, okay, so there is a world where a Soft can win. I just don't think we're living in that world because look at that right side tower. 110 left on it. Wall breakers coming in. All he has to do is cycle a couple of spells, get a Goblin Barrel on tower or that wall breaker. That's going to be GG. That's going to be well played. And wow, that was a quicker and an easier set for Titan than I expected. A Soft he just maybe felt uncomfortable. What happened?
I just feel like once his drill didn't go to plan, he was kind of just caught off guard with this Lava Hound matchup. Not being a traditional Lava Hound player is a Soft. Maybe more so relying on the matchup, which on paper didn't even look that bad for the Lava Hound player, but Titan with these quick cycle decks, knowing how to pressure, how to make him uncomfortable. We look back at this first game, the Firecracker aggressive to Tornado back. Asaf had the right idea there, but it seems like this was the moment where he died on his sword. He went with the drill game one, didn't work out, and then this position cash, 1 minute into the game and you're already down this much elixir and the tower. It's not what you're looking for.
Yeah, I'm still, if I'm looking at what mistake Asaf did in game number 2, it's that not using the Lava Hound when he was up by 5 elixir. Because we saw that he wasn't able to play the Lava Hound at the back because your opponent can punish you with bandits in the pocket, with rascals in the pocket, goblin barrels, wall breakers, you name it. Or even barbarians at the bridge. We saw how lethal they were. But he did have that opportunity. And the fact that he didn't recognize that opportunity, that I think was the biggest mistake we've seen today.
Yeah, it's very uncharacteristic of such a high skill player, but hey, that's what happens. Sometimes we get people on a good day, like we saw Dominic today, in form, ready to take it. Sometimes it's just not your day. Some interactions just aren't going to go to plan. Your one trick deck, you'll try to use it to the best of your abilities, but sometimes it just isn't enough. Still seem to be a little bit too much for a Soft to deal with, but as we wind into set 2, have to be ready for Nate to come and take the field against Inthrill. Gonna be a good one, Cash. I know we're both on the same boat. We both think that they're gonna take it. Can
I pivot? Can I pivot? Can I change to Titan and Inthrill? They look good. They looked really good. I'll stay on the ship. I still think Nate can do it. But you said one thing that got me excited, and you said set number 2. Because I've talked so much today about how Mega Draft's my favorite mode. I haven't been able to cast Mega Draft yet, just because Omar, supposedly he got on a plane, he got too stressed, so he flew away. he took the next flight. I know, sometimes you gotta make it, or sometimes it breaks you. So I'm very excited for this Mega Draft set. But you brought up that Nate is maybe he's more comfortable with one play style. How much do you think that's going to play a factor? Do you think Nate's going to stick to what he does, stick to those cycle decks, or do you think he's going to try to go for a big swing like we saw Asaf do in game number 2?
Well, it's going to be interesting because due to Mega Draft, we can't guarantee any player is going to be in their comfort zone. As we step into the first game of Nate versus Inthrill, it's going to be a wild one. I'm interested to see how well Nate is going to be able to draft.
And already Inthrill taking the log, and I love that pick. Rich brought it up. Look at the spells. If in this situation, there's not that many good spells, so take one right away. And he goes with log, and then now we see arrows going out for Nate. This is interesting because I'm looking at this board, and there's nothing that really jumps out to me except the Phoenix. I would love the Phoenix right now. It's just such a versatile card. You can kind of use it in Cycle. You can use it in Beatdown, but no, decides to go with Cycle. Okay, so he's going with the Ice Spirit. He's sticking to his guns. Is there a card that you can think, or maybe a deck that Inthrill can start leaning into to kind of beat a Cycle deck? Is there something I'm missing here?
There is no Tornado, there's no Fisherman. However, there is EQ on the board. So Hog Rider seems to be a very viable option for Inthrill just because of the log. An Arrow Hog Rider would be a little bit more skeptical for Nate. I'm just kind of disrespected by the fact that he hasn't taken the Miner just yet. But like, what are you waiting for? It's your one trick. Just make it happen. And he's got a lot of cards that he loves to play in his decks too, like that Dark Prince and no Inferno Tower, but he does have the guards. So I'm Going to lean the minor route for Nate. Inthrill seems
There it
like
is.
There we go. There we go. Inthrill, look, he could do something dirty with recruits, but I think he's just going to keep it traditional and go with the Hog Rider and combo with this mortar.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. So we already know. I think both players kind of know what deck they're going, and they decided, okay, you make your deck, I'll make my deck, and let's see, the best player wins. And I don't know if I like that strategy on Inthrill, because you're right about Nate being a little bit predictive, and especially taking Lightning. Those Royal Recruits are calling my name right now. There is a world where he does take these Royal Recruits and pivots on us.
Yeah, especially if he can get that recruits in the last two picks. Could definitely be a surprise. This Royal Ghost will help out if that does end up happening. However, Valkyrie's going to do a great job of containing that. Valk Hog picked up from Inthrill, very standard meta deck without the Evos, of course. And Nate taking Lightning, I'm happy because I can see that he's recognizing some possibilities in draft as opposed to just taking his minor rocket deck that we're so used to seeing him use. And a very nice minions pick here. There's nothing on Inthrill's deck to take care of these minions on the other side of the map.
I really like that pick. I'm just looking at Nate's last pick, and there's a couple of crazy options you could do. You could go with like a Golem or a 3M. They're not bad, maybe just not the type of decks Nate's accustomed to. Or like, what about like even, no, Ram Rider doesn't make sense. I'm trying to think of, you need something to be able to deal with this Hog Rider. Is it as simple as just taking Cannon? It's probably as simple. Okay, it is as simple as just taking Cannon. I think I was trying to put something into reality that just wasn't there. I wanted the Hail Mary throw, and no, it was just a check down, easy point. And starting off right now, is there a deck that you like a little bit more?
I've always been a sucker for these Mortar Hog Rider decks. I just feel like the synergy is so good. It's, you know, you'll have some matchups where the Hog Rider won't be able to do anything, but you have the Mortar that pressures so much it makes your opponent waste so many things due to the amount of pressure it could put. Then your Hog Rider can also get damage, and I just love it. Here we're gonna see an Archer Queen come down for these minions. Also gonna see a miner come down on top of the tower. Decides to just go with the Valkyrie. That's already a minion going through to the tower. Kind of a sloppy first initial defense from Inthrill.
Yeah, I hated it. He did get the hog shot, but on defense, but it's not even like he had a weird cycle. No, he would have. Oh no, he could have maybe not had Archer Queen cycle. It could have been his last card. So maybe a little bit unfortunate with the cycle. But log comes in, Archer Queen. Oh, great predictive log. Minions on top of this Archer Queen. Archer Queen is gonna get taken out before it locks onto the tower. These minions, they deal a sneaky amount of damage if you let them go. So I love this defensive but offensive hog. Cannon will pick it up, but you know what? I'm fine with that. You force your opponent to play 3 elixir, you defend minions, and technically a -1 elixir trade, but overall it looks like a pretty okay situation for Nate. As long as he keeps doing what he's doing and just keeps getting a little bit of damage. The one thing that scares me, boy, this mortar is dealing way more damage than I expected. Not having a really good option to pick up the mortar. No Valkyrie, no Knights, no champions. What was Nate's last card again? He didn't go with the champion, did he?
No, he's got a Dark Prince.
Yeah.
No, Inthrill has a Dark Prince. Inthrill has.
Oh yeah, you're right. It is Inthrill. Wait, what is Nate's last card? I don't think he did go with champion, which is kind of surprising. There was like a Golden Knight would have been great in this deck.
Last card is Lightning.
Oh, that's right. He does have a big spell, which, you know what? Going up against Archer Queen, I'm fine with it, but Inthrill's going to just make sure he doesn't give Lightning value ever. Playing these Archer Queens up high, goes with Miner at the back, tries to predict with the Valkyrie, but no. Valkyrie goes high, has to walk all the way around. Miner gets a bunch of thwacks. Archer Queen is getting tanked for... Oh, whoa. What happened there? A misplay with the cannon. Hog gets on tower. Archer Queen is not going to get on tower, but that was a good little push by Inthrill, but not as much damage as I thought.
Yeah, missed interactions, but an effect of that cannon was he had to overcommit with the minions, which in turn forced the ghost out for the Valkyrie, which kind of just killed the ghost. He could have defended that Valkyrie with minions in turn, then turned that into a counter push. It's little micro interactions that kind of make a difference, and he could have definitely capitalized on that a lot better. Go aggressive here, not going to be able to get a Lightning down if Inthrill were to play an Archer Queen just because of the elixir on the board. Guard's going to do a great job of cleaning up. We'll see an Archer Queen into the opposite lane. Maybe some pre-arrows for a Ghost. Doesn't come down, not the case, but fairly quickly and reactive, this Ghost is going to get logged down.
Yeah, I just want to see Inthril play this mortar. Every single time this mortar comes down, it has been getting shots on tower. So the more mortars he plays, that's how he wins. And look at this mortar. He's not going to be able to defend it. Yes, he's stalling it right now with the Royal Ghost, with the guards. But as long as, how does he take out these minions? You're right about the minions being kind of a thorn in Inthrill's side. Miner at the back, I love going in while you're defending too. And this left side is kind of scary. There's 2 minions, there's a guard, and a Royal Ghost. Oh, great lightning value too. Playing the Archer Queen close enough to the tower. Minion's going to take that left side tower down to 1133, and just like that, Nate now has options. He can go left, he can go right, and he does have the big spell. So if we see the game go even deeper and deeper into triple elixir, I love Nate's situation right now.
Yeah, he's definitely put himself into a great one here. I love how he's doing such a great job of making Inthril uncomfortable, because on paper, this Hog Rider EQ against that cannon just looks like it's gonna blow right through, but what's blowing right through are those minions and Miner on that tower. Lightning arrow range, arrows not just yet in cycle, gonna come down right here, right now. Tower gonna come down for Nate. Nate putting his team back on track, takes the first game in the second set, trying to push to that 2v2 set that we all know and love here at the Snapdragon Pro Series. Cashman, seems like we might be back in.
Mini, I gotta talk to you.
We gotta talk.
I love Mega Draft, and the reason why is the first part, the drafting, and oh my gosh, the minions of all cards. That's the pick that won the game. That's the pick that decided the game. Minions, a card that you start off with in Clash Royale. That just shows Nate's understanding of Clash Royale. He sees value where maybe other people don't. If it was me, I would have picked Phoenix, but no, the Phoenix wouldn't have done what the minions did. Only the minions could have done what the minions did. And I love Mega Draft. Hey, Mini, did I tell you that I love Mega Draft?
I think you did, and I think you're right on point. Anything with the words mini inside the name is automatically gonna bring you great things. We can see them in the minions giving Nate the victory in this game one, and very underwhelming pick, like you said. Phoenix would not have gotten that amount of DPS and counter push potential so quickly, so really a great job. We saw the cannon, we mentioned the Hog EQ could have blown right past the cannon, but minions, Ice Spirit, minions, guards, also a great job of cleaning up. So some real great recognition from Nate, some real great understandings of the fundamentals as we go into game 2.
We have the same draft. This is exactly, is this a replay? Is this a replay? Is this not exactly how the last draft went? It was log, arrows, Ice Spirit. Wait, is this a replay? No, it is not a replay. We have the Skeleton King. Okay, never mind. We're not. I thought I was having a little bit of deja vu for a second, but no, we have Inthril at the bottom going with Skeleton King and the Goblin King. So already recognizing, okay, I'm going to lean in a little bit into this bait. And there are a lot of good options. I love the Rascals right now. You can even go kind of bridge spam bait with the Bandit and the Cannon cart, but there's no really good win condition that can supplement that. There's no Goblin Barrel, there's no Skeleton Barrel. What am I looking at?
Yeah, honestly, and I'm sorry, but this just kind of catches me off guard. If you're going up against the Miner one trick, it's in the team name. Take the Miner away from him, please. Like 2 drafts in a row, gotta do better, Inthril. However, with this composition that he has, this cannon card's gonna be great for counter push potential. Nate already has 2 spells. Very unlikely he goes with third, so this cannon card counter push potential combo with a mortar could definitely be threatening. Someone to a very meta deck can't go with the minion horde because the arrows are already in there, which kind of surprises me about the Rascals. I guess he's trying to play on making him waste his arrows on the Rascals or the gang and then punishing. Maybe he will take minion horde, just overwhelm the amount of units that those arrows have to be used for.
It's not a bad idea. The only win condition I could see Inthril taking is Graveyard, but look at the spells. What do you support it with? A Rage? That's your only really option. You're not going to use Graveyard Rocket, Graveyard Lightning. So I don't exactly know what Inthril... Is there a world where Inthril goes with the Electro Giant, and goes with Lightning? And like Fisherman? No, he's going Mortar. So are we still thinking Graveyard here, Mini, or are we pivoting?
Look, he could still go in with a surprise E-Giant at the end, depending on if Nate picks a building, which I think he will. Standard Miner Control picks. This Mega Minion, great for the Baby Dragon. I love it. It's a great one-on-one counter.
Yeah, you know what? I like it. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Like just having a card that's really good against a card that could be problematic. It has splash. He's got a lot of squishy units. I'm okay with that. But what the heck is his last card going to be? Furnace from Nate. So he's going more control. I don't think we're going to see Electro Giant come out, and no really true win condition. Yes, Mortar is a win condition, but I find it's a little bit inconsistent at dealing damage. So he's going to have to figure out other ways to deal damage, using this bandit at perfect times, using this cannon card, using the Skeleton King and its ability. And I don't know. Right now, I'm liking the Knight. Why the Knight if you have the Golden Knight already?
Because there were so many different standout troops. We had the cannon cart, we had the mortar, then we had the bandit. Those are all troops that are going to require some meaty troop to take the bulk of the damage while your other troops deal the DPS. So great recognition there from Nate. Not only that, but we've already seen the fact of having a champion relying on the health of that to tank for pushes. Nate recognizing that that could be problematic, opts to go for Knight, a very safe route, taking the defensive backseat in this one, letting his troops do the work as he pulls off defenses and gets minor chip as the game goes on.
Yeah, we're seeing the Golden Knight come in on defense. It is going to be more than enough to deal with this cannon cart and the Rascal Boy, but does get taken out. So if we're looking at the elixir, maybe a little in favor of Nate right now, just because he does have the furnace in the arena. I don't know how much value a furnace in the arena costs. Isn't there a saying it's an egg is in the basket is worth 2? Isn't there a saying there? I don't know. Maybe I'm making stuff up. But Mortar on the right side. Is there a saying there? Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's don't put all your eggs in one basket.
No, it's something about birds. Maybe it's like a bird in the tree is worth 2 in the something. Okay, I'll ask Rich. Rich will definitely know. I think Rich will know what I'm talking about. Yeah, and then this Golden Knight on the right side, he has a lot of ways to pick up this dash. Uses the Rascals. Does that on dash on tower? That does. Wait,
that's a very big misplay there.
Yeah, because not only do you play 5 elixir, half of that 5 elixir card gets taken out, a good majority of that half, and then also you take damage in the process. So a big mistake from InThrill here. And Nate, he did really well in first game. I think he's maybe won the draft in the second game as well, unless InThrill can kind of figure out, okay, how can I deal damage? Because right now, look at Nate's towers. They are very healthy. The only thing that's hit the tower, I guess now the Spear Goblin ruined that, but I guess a Spear Goblin and a log. Those are the only 2 things that have hit Nate's tower. More on this left side, Knight to pick it up. Simple Clash Royale here from Nate. And also the EQ. Wait, he picked the mortar even though Nate already had the EQ. So that's another interesting pick from InThrill.
Yeah. He's definitely trying to play a little bit with the minor mortar spam that's traditionally in, but that's something you need to recognize at the start. Like we said, you can't let Nate pick minor when minor is on the board, especially when it's like the second or third pick. You cannot give him that comfort, because let's be honest, I don't know how much practice Nate has with other decks, but it's nowhere near as good as a pro or a semi-pro who actually practices and tries to amplify his deck pool. Minor is his
Mortar's locked on.
It's always going to be solid. Mortar is on tower, gonna get just one shot. Golden Knight gonna come down here and clean everything up. That's gonna be an unfortunate use of a Goblin Gang, but great use of a Golden Knight. Nate resets. I love this simple Clash Royale, just defending, getting minors on the tower, cycling Qs on defense. Very, very straightforward from Nate.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's just simple Clash Royale, and it looks simple. Nate looks comfortable, and it's funny too, because you said, hey, like, don't let Nate pick the minor, but also he kind of got fortunate that the minor was even available in both of the draft boards. So maybe Nate, you know what, gets a little bit of luck, but still he decides to roll with it. And as long as he can keep playing defense, we know these minors will get a little bit of damage. We know these Earthquake are going to get a little bit of damage. InThrill, he doesn't have a big spell. He doesn't have a true win condition. He cannot deal consistent damage. So now this game's all going to come down to Nate's defense and minor on defense. We're seeing the Knight on the right side. We already have the Golden Knight on the left side for the Skeleton King. Another weird Rascals. Can't you just dash onto everybody? No, decides to go with arrows, saving the dash for the skeletons that spawn, and overall that works pretty cleanly.
Yeah, very nice use of the ability and then the arrows there. And we saw the Golden Knight coming down on the left-hand lane while the main bulk was coming down there, and then we saw the Knight being used so adequately on the right-hand side against the cannon card and the remaining troops that were pushing in that lane. So really just heads up pick there from Nate with that Knight. Playing super defensively. It's a very slow-paced game for him and everyone in terms of the damage output. but he's hanging on, and we're into the last 30 seconds now, Cash.
This is getting kind of scary. Look at the right side. There's a cannon cart, and that cannon cart almost got on towers. Couple skeletons on the left side. The mortar's still alive. Arrows come in. Mortar is not going to get a shot on tower. This could get scary, but with 20 seconds left, I think this is where Nate just doubles down on defense, loads up, and then when there's maybe 5 seconds left, goes in with an earthquake and just wins this game, because he doesn't even have to go with the miner. I like how he's using it on defense. You can use a miner on defense. Golden Knight dash on the right side, mortar on the left side, cannon cart on the left side, skeleton king on the left side. It doesn't matter. 5 seconds left. Earthquake comes in on the right side, and that should lock up this game. Arrows on defense, and that's the nice little bow. And Nate is going to win game number 2 and this set for Miner Uno Trick. Well done. Really good game.
Well done. Really well played from Nate. You know, taking advantage of his comforts to push this into a set 3. I love to see it. We saw his partner not being able to use his comforts optimally, but this time around he goes going up against Inthril, which, to be completely honest, I didn't feel like he drafted the best possible way, but doesn't take away from the fact that Nate played a near perfect game. His defenses were exquisite. The counterplay was great. He was able to get a miner sometimes when he was defending to get a little bit of chip. But we saw that Mega Minion do a lot of work in that matchup, Cashman, where it really neutralized the impact that the Baby Dragon had, where it was intended to clean up so much splash, but it just ended up being completely neutralized by that Mega Minion.
Yeah, I think the Mega Minion was a great pick on Inthril side, but the problem is it was a great pick for defense. The thing his deck was missing was offense. And like we were even talking about while he was drafting, that it's like, okay, what's he going to do? Is he going to go with a graveyard route? Is he going to do this? Is he going to do bridge spam? Is he going to do bait? Is he going to do... It seemed like he kind of did a little bit of everything, but nothing at the same time.
Yeah, and I have one question for you, Cash.
All right, let me hear it.
Do you know what Inthril was missing in his deck? Do you know the card that he was missing in his deck?
Are you gonna say minions? Is that what you're gonna say? Oh, I don't know.
I'm not that self-centered.
Okay, what card was he missing? Evo Firecracker?
The miner. The miner.
Oh yeah, miner would have been a great pick. Wait. Why didn't he just pick miner?
That's what I would say.
Oh, because if he picked miner, then what would have Nate done? Because the win conditions, there wasn't any goblin drills, goblin barrels. There wasn't any of those. There was no hog riders. There was a ram rider, but that still wouldn't have been an issue because you did have the mortar. You did have a lot of these high DPS cards like the Goblin Gang. Wow. Interesting. It's crazy how Mega Draft works like that.
Super interesting. Saw a lot of great picks, some iffy picks, but we have a 1-1 score on the board. Let's go ahead and settle this, get into set number 3 right after this break.
Snapdragon Pro Series powered by Samsung Galaxy is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, Monster Energy, and DHL.
Welcome to the place where dreams come true, where everything you want can be yours, if and only if you're willing to work for them, you're willing to hurt for them, but most of all, you're willing to be first for them. Look, I'm going straight to the top. I don't know how I would stop, like it or not. I got some goals that I'm hitting. You hear what I'm spitting, it's hot. Look what I got, whole lot of passion and pain. The road to success is insane. Stay out my lane, cause I'm on a mission. I'm getting what stands in my way. Yeah, I'm a beast, I wouldn't play with me, baby. The way that I'm training is crazy and I do it daily. You wanna talk about drive? I got more drive than Mercedes. I've never been lazy. I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete? Well, get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt, push through the hurt just to show them my worth. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt, cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Yeah, I gotta be first. Look, I don't want anyone's sympathy. I understand what it's meant for me. I give my focus and energy. If it's meant to be, then it's meant to be. But mentally, I'm undefeated. They hear that and say I'm conceited. Like there's no reason. Like I don't beat them and come back again just to teach them that when you work under pressure, you reach higher measures. They'll try and bring you down, but you cannot let them, and only get better and focus on cheddar. Eye on the prize and you'll become a legend. Like, when I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete, well, get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt. Push through the hurt just to show them my worth. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test. Like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed. So now let me flex. Yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt. Cause I know my worth. And I gotta be first. Yeah, I gotta be first. They don't know what's gotten into me. How'd I turn pain into energy? Through all the struggle and hurt, remember my worth, and that's why I gotta be first.
1-on-1 on the leaderboard, or on the match, not the leaderboard. Time to take us into the game 3, 2v2, the game mode we all know and love. Cashman, we've rallied back in this one. I know Rich is praying on our downfall on this one, but I think we gotta edge it out.
Yeah, it's fun because you know what? I had my first little casting sesh with Rich, and we only got one set. So I felt a little hurt by that because I was like, I love casting. I love hanging out with you guys. I love hanging out with my co-casters. But now we're getting set 3. Now we're getting 2v2. And I have a bold prediction, Minnie. A very, very bold prediction. Nate, well, I tried to do a little drum roll. Nate and Asaf will be pulling out, wait for it, Drill. Drill Firecracker. That's my prediction. I know. It's ballsy.
Drill Firecracker or Drill Miner?
Ooh, maybe both. Ooh, now you got me thinking. You can go Miner, Drill, and even add in a little bit of wall breakers in there.
That's what I like about this team. That's what I'm saying, you know? You can go one player Miner, the other one Drill. Synergizes so well.
Yeah, and I remember when was I casting with you in 2v2, the tournament, where we saw some players go with, instead of going with 2 decks that kind of look the same, where it's like just one big deck, we saw players go with 2 different meta decks, one with like a Royal Giant deck, one with a Minor Control deck. And it worked way better than I expected. And I want to see players kind of... We always talk about how important deck making is. We talked about it in the duel. We talked about it in the Mega Draft. But in 2v2, that's still something that I think is in its infancy stages. I want to see more deck diversity. I want to see these players push the limit, because if you want to win this tournament, you're going to have to be able to take some risk.
Yeah, well, maybe it's time for people to pull out Sparky E-Giant once again. Oh. When E-Giant came out, it was so broken in 2v2. We just see everybody load up with the 8 Elixir E-Giants in the bag, slow roll, and take the care of the buildings. But I agree. I'd love to see maybe some Goblin Giant Sparky action. Something along those lines to really switch it up. Like Sparky with Evo Firecracker, can you imagine? Like,
Ooh, I don't know if I want to live in that world. That is, it's weird because Sparky, you never see in the pro scene, you never see it in competitive, but it's one of those cards where when I see it on ladder, I get a little butterfly in my stomach. I always go, Sparky. Even if I have a good matchup, even if I have Royal Recruits, even if I have Rocket, even if I have Delivery, I always feel like I make mistakes against the Sparkies, but I don't think these pro players will. I think these pro players, they know what they're going to do. They know what decks they're going to play, and we're not going to see maybe Sparky. I'm trying to think of even Electro Giant. Is it even viable right now? I guess we'll find out, because we're going into the first game, and let's see if my prediction is correct. Do you have any bold predictions before we get in? Are you going to say Sparky?
Let me make a bold prediction for you. We'll see wall breakers from Titan specifically, and a Hog Rider from ASAP specifically.
Oh, and maybe a Tornado and a Mighty Miner. That was good. That was a good prediction. How the heck did you know that?
You know, props of being a pro player.
Oh yeah, so Asaf and Nate, they kind of baited and switched to me. They, instead of going with the Goblin Drill or a Miner or this kind of more bait cycle deck, we're gonna see Hog Riders. Which, you know what? I think we're gonna see kind of Hog Riders and EQs. No, we see Wall Breakers already for Titan. So maybe switching what I expected. Are we gonna see Goblin Drill from Great King Tower activation? Are we gonna see Goblin Drill come out from Titan and Inthril instead?
It's looking like it with a double Evo Firecrackers, well, 4 Evo Firecrackers across the board here. Monk in the back, not going to be enough for this drill. It's way too far back. It requires something else. Ice Spear doing a great job there. And going Hog Rider with no bans, with Nate always being open, is somewhat of a risk. Not sure if they're realizing it, but we'll see how this one pans out. I do like that they have the Monk for the instances when they're gonna need it against Evo Firecrackers. That Goblin pushed the Hog a little bit out of range, but they do end up getting the NATO in the proper position in order to pull that to King Tower.
Yeah, these Hog Riders, they are going to struggle to get on King Tower because they both have buildings and they both have tornadoes. And there's only 2 Hog Riders, so if we're doing the math, yeah, 4 is greater than 2. So every single time, Titan and Inthril should be able to deal with this Hog Rider. But there are some kind of tricks of the trait that Nate and Asaf could add to their deck. I already see that Lumberjack, which you can use with the Rage to really boost the speed and damage of that Hog Rider. Maybe there could be a cheeky freeze as well. And also, there's the Evo Firecrackers. We know that those cards can be basically a win condition by themselves. If you play them at the bridge, you go really aggressive, get a couple of shots on tower, you can just win the game. And already we see the normal Firecracker get a little bit of damage. Lumberjack's going to be more than enough to defend this drill. Monk's going to pop the ability, get a little bit of damage. Dash comes in from the Golden Knight and Hog Rider on this right side, but we know there's already a tornado. Gets sucked to the King Tower. Oh, is there a world where this King Tower could get dangerously low? Oh, there it is. Evo Firecracker on the left side. That's a lot of damage, Mini.
That is a lot of damage. It's going to continue getting damage on the right-hand side here. Fireball coming down from Inthril, trying to make some room, not being the case. Logged down is that first Evo Firecracker. Gonna see another one on the left-hand side, trying to catch someone lacking. This is where communication struggles. When you get 2 Hog Riders at the same time, no building in cycle for both, you don't know which one to take, which one your partner is going to take. That's why you have to be communicating so quickly in 2v2.
Yeah, we saw miscommunications even with reacting to the Bandit, because cards like that, you have to react it away. You can't say words, you have to do. And right now, Titan and Inthril did not do the right thing. But they still are in a really good spot. They're getting damage, and especially with these Evo Firecrackers close to being in cycle, if they're able to get a couple more Evo Firecracker shots and these drills get a little bit more damage, or this Golden Knight dashing on tower. Fireball comes in, Golden Knight dashes on tower. Is that going to be GG's? Firecracker at the bridge, but not Evo, just normal. Great pickup with this Lumberjack. Evo, where are the Evo Firecrackers? I thought it's hard to keep track because I don't know which player is playing which Firecracker. This is a big push, though.
This is a big push. Rage of Hog Rider's feet come down, but the big push is no more. Hog Rider not going to be able to get in there, and this is just going to be a drill, double log, fireball. It's going to be a game back to the drawing board. The Katori and Asap go. It feels like, you know, we talk about the mini meta that we have in 2v2. It feels like now is not the time to be experimenting. As much as you like these decks, it feels like their bread and butter should have been coming out at least for the first game.
Yeah, I don't like the Hog Rider right now. The Hog Rider, maybe it's just a bad matchup because I couldn't see, maybe the Hog Rider would have done better against a deck like Royal Giant, but going up against this deck with double building, double tornado, yeah, they were never going to break through. And look, they barely dealt any damage. They almost dealt more damage to the King Tower than anything else. And then on Titan side and in Thrill side, we saw consistent damage every single time. So what do you do if you're Nate, and what do you do if you're Titan and Thrill, or Nate and Asaf? Because I think there is a world where Titan and Thrill can just stick to what's working. That deck was super successful. It's simple in this mini meta, but it has also dominated this mini meta. And then if you're like, what's a counter deck to that deck? Do you just double down and play the same deck, play a mirror matchup, and try to play the deck even better than your opponents?
Yeah, maybe you take the minor route and double down on cards like Dark Prince and Ghost just to be able to deal with the drill while you log and spell cycle the crap out of Tower of Miners as you would with drill, but prepare for the drill and try to open up the gateway for your miner to get onto the tower.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into game number 2 right now. And I think you're right about that. Adding a Dark Prince or adding that Royal Ghost, I think it'll pay dividends for Asaf and Nate, just in case your opponent plays the same deck again. But no, it looks like we have Wall Breakers from Asaf and Katori. It looks like they are copying, as of right now, they are copying Titan and Inthrill's game 1 deck. But Titan and Inthrill decide, you know what, we were good with that deck, but we're also good with Royal Giant. And ooh, is that Miss King Tower activation I just saw?
Yeah, the NATO was placed fine, but it was just the fact that the Golden Knight was going down on the left-hand lane, and it locked onto the Golden Knight as opposed to walking straight to the King Tower.
Ooh, a little mistake. I don't think it's going to be too costly. Golden Knight does not dash on tower. Monk does come down in time. This Firecracker should be able to deal with this Phoenix, and the Monk probably pops the ability just to take out... Oh, no, he can't pop the ability because it would activate King Tower. So kind of in an awkward situation there with Titan and Inthrill, and they're just going to reset. Ooh, there is double draw. I didn't even notice that. Mother Witch on defense. Oh, I love the Mother Witch pick. One good Mother Witch in this game could be over.
Yeah, already seeing a massive elixir just deficit in terms of overall. All players using up the majority of their elixir to either defend or throw those drills on offense. No real room to follow up on this counter push from Katori and Asaf just because they both used their drills. Wall Breakers on the left going to force out a cage, but one does sneak on through to the tower. That's going to be a King Tower activation from the Goblin Cage. NATO comes back in order to allow that Firecracker to get some damage in. Heads up, not going to get 2 shots, which is what they wanted. And here is the first Evo RG of the set.
Yeah, and let's see the building. The building is going to be the Inferno Tower. Locks onto the... this Monk and Fisherman got really, really close. The Evo Royal Giant got my attention on the defensive side, but you got to watch out for those supporting cards. We've seen Lumberjacks get on tower and be able to deal a ton of damage. It swings, swings, swings. Do we see the double? No, we're not going to see double drill here. It's just a little aggressive. Especially, they did that in single elixir. They are just going for 1 drill, I believe, but there's already a Mother Witch down. They go with the poison, trying to deal with the Mother Witch, trying to deal with this Lumberjack. This Royal Giant is not going to get on tower. No, doesn't get pushed back. It gets pushed forward. Ice Spirit comes in, but still gets an additional shot.
That's just a mistake. That's one of those instances where you play the log at the bridge in order to just get that little bit of chip, but it pushes the Royal Giant forward, not only keeping it at your tower, but it saves it that extra second and a half that it would have taken to walk towards the tower. It's just not where they want it to be. This should be a simple defense. Poison does a great job of clogging up the river, but that Royal Giant is completely ignoring that Inferno Tower. Check-in Tornado to keep that alive.
Oh, this is looking scary because that Mother Witch is healthy and isn't going to be able to get a lot of piggies, just gets 1 Curse Piggy, but Royal Giant does get on tower. Fireball gets on tower, takes out the Firecracker as well. The Fisherman does get picked up for this Mighty Miner, but Nate and Asaf don't have a lot of elixir, and they still have to deal with these units on the... Ooh, very aggressive Monk at the bridge. Why go with the Monk at the bridge? Why not just reset with Royal Giants at the back? We saw how successful that double Royal Giant push is. They're going really aggressive here, and that should be fine because that tower is in spell cycle range. So just trying to focus, force their opponents to play defense so they don't go in offensively. It doesn't matter. That's going to be GG. That's going to be well played. And that is it for 2v2. Whoa, 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 whoa. That was way easier than I expected. That was domination.
Yeah, our drill miner 1-trick combo seemed to fall a little bit short in this 2v2 set. That drill feels like they played it well, but I feel like it gave Titan and Intro a little bit too much time to gather themselves and expect it, especially for game 2.
Yeah, that's the problem with drills, is because if you look at Titan and Inthrill's deck, they have so many ways to deal with the drills, and they always had to deal damage. If you were Nate and Asaf, they had to spend so much elixir, but if you spend so much elixir, you still have to deal with the counter push, all those units that your opponents use to deal with the drill, and then you also have to deal with a Royal Giant, and every other time, an Evo Royal Giant, and we saw that was a little bit too much for Nate and Asaf to deal with.
Yeah, and as we take a look at our updated bracket after our 3rd quarterfinal, we're going to be able to see a lot of unexpected results. We saw that Mo Lucas X Gamer crashing out in round 1. And now it's the Polish duo of Titan and Intro moving on to our 2nd semifinal that'll take place tomorrow. And now we only have 1 more match remaining today. And you know who's coming up?
What?
He's back.
Who's back?
He's back.
Who's back? Say his name.
James is back.
Oh, no, I forgot.
He's back.
So that means we're gonna get a couple of puns where we're gonna get the slam dunks and the alley oops from Ninny. I'm excited. I'm excited to watch you. I don't think. Yeah, I think we're going to make a switch here. I think Rich is actually coming in instead, but you know what? It was fun being here. I'm excited to watch more games. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Welcome back to the final match of our day, quarterfinal number 4 at the Snapdragon Pro Series Season 3 final. That's a lot of times I said final altogether, Mini, but to be honest, it's appropriate because every single one was necessary. And speaking of necessary, both of these teams, single elimination, they only have one shot. And on one side, we have Arden Toas and Wallace up against Bob the Rock and Sosa. LeBron James out here against the 2 CRL World finalists.
Yeah, Rich, you know, it's funny. You mentioned shot, and you know who's good at making shots? It's LeBron James.
Oh, okay,
No.
okay, got it.
No. LeBron James!
Bob and Sosa coming in. Of course, Bob the Rock and Wallace, 2 of the players here who have 2v2 experience at the highest level in Clash Royale League. Of course, Wallace rode that all the way to a CRO World Finals berth, whereas it did not go as well for Bob in his time in Misfits. But 2v2s only if we make it there. First, we have our opening sets, and for LeBron James, Bob the Rock will be the duels mode player, and Sosa will be in Mega Draft. Minnie, are you surprised by this being the lineup?
No, I think Bob is the expected one playing the point guard today. He's coming out. He's had a very on and off CRL season. He's had some very bad months. He's had some fairly decent ones. Sosa, however, somebody who's had a very good CRL running this year. Understandable why somebody with so much game knowledge would be sent to the Mega Draft. Maybe Bob the Rock just not feeling comfortable enough in that game mode, prefers to keep it traditional. And on Mankos, Rich, Arden, Toas, and Wallace. Are you surprised with the lineup here?
Not at all. I mean, Arden Toas has been phenomenal in the dual mode this year in CRL. Of course, winning a golden ticket in Mo Light's absence most recently. And Wallace is a really good, flexible player with a very deep deck pool and someone who's been able to play both in 2v2 and 1v1 well, which really shows comfortability in lots of situations. So this is the exact lineup that I would have gone with. Arden in the dual mode and Wallace into Mega Draft. And let's go ahead and get to the most important thing, Minnie. Let's get to our predictions. So your pick in this one, who you going with, Bob and Sosa or Arden and Wallace?
It would be a shame for me to ever root against the greatest team of all time, LeBron James. So that's just who I'm taking. I don't even want to hear Arden Toas, Wallace, world champions, Wallace, one of the best. No, it's LeBron James. That's all. It's slam. He's about to slam dunk on this. That's all that's going to happen.
I forgot, you're probably a Heat fan, aren't you? That probably makes, now I'm starting to put some pieces together here. Now I'm starting to get it. I'm going to go with Arden and Wallace. Arden has been very good as of late, and I like Wallace's flexibility. Bob and Sosa certainly could put it off, but if we get all the way to the 2v2, I think I like Arden and Wallace's chances at that set better. And Cashman picking Arden and Wallace as well. And I just want to point out that so far today, the odd man out has been the winner, with Cashman getting the right pick in the first set with the upset, me getting the right pick last set, picking Titan and Inthrill together. So maybe that trend will continue today as we get into our final quarterfinal of the day. And of course, find out who will be in for our semis tomorrow. Let's go ahead and jump into our first set. Dual mode, Bob the Rock versus Arden Toas.
Arden Toas gearing up, but that Ice Spirit is starting out to be seeing some cycle from him. Bob the Rock with that RG in the back. We've seen such a shift in the way to play RG ever since Evos have been included into the game. It feels like RG needs another Evo cycle. It just doesn't seem okay that RG can be played in the back in the first play, all because of the fact that you're gonna get the Evo RG right after that.
Yeah, I mean, there is still feel like there's the risk because of the ability to counter push, but if you're holding a Fisherman in hand, I guess you're far less worried about that. Although this Hog is going to get a couple of nice shots here. Should get away with, doesn't quite get the 2 as the Skellies come out and take care of business.
Yeah, this Firecracker is going to line up for a neat counter push with the Ice Spirit. Not going to get a Hog back in cycle in time, it seems. So King Tower activation probably going to be the case here for Bob the Rock. Interested to see how he's going to try to get past this Inferno Tower, because like the trend has shown, Fireball is a spell of choice with these players when it comes to this RG deck. Bar Barrel in the back just to play a little bit, contain the Monk once it starts crossing the river. And Arden Toe is gearing up for another push with the Hum.
Yeah, a little surprised to see the Fisherman was the call for how to counter the Firecracker rather than another option just because of the Hog, but so far, Arden not pressuring heavily, is a very good Hog player. We'll see what he can do. So far, leaking about an extra elixir over his opponent is the golden ticket holder, with 15 seconds left before getting into double elixir time.
Yeah, and this early Inferno, as good as it is to contain for the RGs and not get them out-cycled, it kind of opens the door for the Royal Giant to actually be able to take it out. Not going to be the case here, just gets burnt down, but once Bob's able to direct some elixir with the Fireball towards that Inferno Tower, once we get into the later parts of this game, he could start to break through some of those Inferno Towers. But then again, you also have the Evo Firecracker and the Monk pushback to worry about. So it seems like Arden Toast has a very comfortable matchup in this first game.
Yeah, the Monk is an interesting feature here, because if you get the Monk on the Evolved Royal Giant before it starts shooting, you can get that knockback going. But once it starts shooting, that Monk gets into a lot of trouble. So we'll see if maybe an Ice Spirit or a Log, just like that. There you go, see the synergy Ice Spirit Log to keep the Evo to RG from shooting. Monk gets its knockback. Another nice sequence here for Arden Toas, but has a lot to deal with here with Lumberjack, Fishboy, and an Evolved Royal Giant on the left-hand side.
Oh.
Yeah, I see exactly what you're talking about there, Minnie.
Yeah, he just missed the Inferno tanks, and that was just such a picture-perfect defense for Arden Toast. Everything that needed to happen happened. Bob the Rock, I was going to say before he even dropped that push, it seems like a very good time. He was up so much elixir. He had the Evo, RG, and Cycle. This feels like maybe that bar barrel should have came down a little bit earlier for that Inferno Tower, because in that moment, that was the only counter that Arden was going to have.
Now, obviously, you're a very talented Royal Giant player, kind of in your wheelhouse here. Where do you rate Bob overall amongst Royal Giant players?
Bob is an interesting one because if you look at his trajectory over time, he's just now started to play the Fisherman versions in the last year or so. Before that, he's always had a staple Bob the Rock deck with Furnace, Baby Dragon, Lumberjack, so he's no stranger to the Lumberjack element of this deck. But the Fisherman seems like he still has some catching up to do, but once you have such great experience and skill level with any RG archetype, it can kind of carry over to other decks.
And here we go, Inferno Tower out, just as you talked about earlier. Evolved Royal Giant on that Princess Tower on the right-hand side, and the other Royal Giant taking out the Inferno Tower. So this is going to be potentially even more damage coming in, or at least force out more elixir from Arden. And that's a massive lead for Bob with 40 seconds left.
Yeah, everything going right there for Bob, even taking his foot off the gas pedal a little bit with that Phoenix all the way in the back, but hey, he can afford it right now. This Evo Firecracker and the Hogshot, however, tying things up just a tad bit. Evo RG's time to shine right here. Inferno Tower in the middle trying to pull, does get the lock on. Fireball is not going to come down in time. Barbarian, no, Lumberjack is on the tower. Just like that, 1, 2, 3 strikes from the Lumberjack, chops that tower down. Bob the Rock taking game 1 against a world champion player, Arden Toas.
So Hog, Furnace, Monk all out for Arden, all the different pieces for that RG deck out for Bob. So unlikely that we're going to see Bob go Mortar Loon at any point here.
Yeah, looks like he may be going Lava Hound or Graveyard here. Arden Toes says it's his time to shine with the Royal Giant. Gonna be Lava, no, it could still be either one with the current meta with these Skeleton Dragons. But regardless of the matchup, it still seems like it's whichever one of the decks Bob the Rock has, still seems like it's gonna be somewhat difficult for Arden to deal with the deck that Bob has.
Skeleton missed the second part of the kite on the Skeleton Dragons, so a little more splash damage in for Bob, who has the game advantage and now the damage lead as well, as we pass the first minute of regulation time, and looking more like Graveyard here with the freeze and the barbs currently not evoed yet, and the Ice Whiz.
Yeah, freeze missed the barb, cost him that 1 RG shot. Hopefully this match doesn't come down to that one, because that would be very disappointing for Bob. But he is going with the Inferno Graveyard Evo Barbs deck, which is going to be so difficult for Arden to break through. Not only does he have that Inferno Tower, but unlike what we saw in the previous match where the Inferno Tower was the bulk of the defenses, if you direct your Fireball to the Inferno Tower, the Evo Barbs are going to eat you up. If you direct your Fireball towards the Barbs, the Inferno Tower, and or the Skeleton Dragons, and the Ice Whiz is going to get value. There's no Mother Witch for the Graveyards, although there are very quick cycle troops, but this is one of the worst matchups for RG in this meta.
Well, when we talk about Royal Giant Graveyard matchups, we saw earlier today the Splash Yard versus RG matchups, and while Splash Yard on paper has that advantage, we didn't see the DPS there, and more importantly, we didn't see ways to let the DPS do its work with the Fireball versus the Barbs, whereas here, just what you're talking about, the ways to distract the Fireball different directions, and of course, as we've already seen, the value of the defensive freeze to let that damage take the RG off the board.
Yeah, that defensive freeze is a great last resort to have, and you just have to tread so carefully when you're playing against this Graveyard deck. Because if you Fireball on offense, try to make some room, anything in the slightest can transition to a counter push and put you on the back foot in a very defensive cycle for at least a minute or two, so gotta be very careful. Ardentoe is playing this really well so far, taking advantage of small windows to try to get a little bit of damage, a little bit of spell value, and more importantly, cycling his phoenixes in a very nice way to the point that they don't get taken out on his side of the arena and can translate that into counter pushes or positions where Bob has to overspend them.
Phoenix working on the Barbarians right now. Skeleton Dragon working on the one on the left-hand side, but back to a second Phoenix, and now Royal Giant Classic behind the bars. But here we go. The evolved Barbarians absolutely smother that Royal Giant.
Here we go. Here's another push. The Skeleton King is going to gather all of these souls from the graveyard. Freeze is going to come down. Good Electro Spear there to pick up all the skeletons spawning in. However, he now does have the ability from the Skeleton King that's going to take out all of these troops, forces out the Phoenix. Lumberjack Rage deploy is going to be able to take out the majority of the skeletons, if not all. There we go. And will Ardentoe's push here? Good thing it doesn't, because Bob is ready with those high skeleton dragons. And this is what Bob really needs to be worrying about. The shift in tempo where Ardentoe tries to take advantage of the slightest counter push in order to use it to get damage onto the tower.
Very low on Elixir right now is Arden. Defends the graveyard with the Electro Spirit. Bar Barrel out to clean up. Evolved Royal Giant working down the left-hand lane. All the troops, though, on the right-hand side. Back to a second RG here, is he? And yes, he is. So now here we go. Phoenix going to take care of these two Phoenixes on the Skeleton Dragons. And the defensive freeze forced out here. Does Arden have the ability to double down on this push on the right-hand lane?
Yeah, it's just so many things that he's got to try to get past. Still going in at it. Ice Wizard going to do such a great job of containing, especially against this Rage. And Frontier locked onto the Phoenix, which could be huge. Arrow's going to come down, not take care of the egg. Ice Wizard is still locked on, but Skeleton Dragon's coming in hot. RG does get one shot. However, there's no other way for him to get damage besides a Fireball, and this Graveyard's going to do at least a couple hundred damage.
Skeletons do get on tower with the freeze, and that's going to be a GG, a well played. Arden waves the white flag. Bob the Rock takes set number one.
They didn't just take set number one, Rich. They slam dunked alley-oop set number one. LeBron James is in the driver's seat, one set away from moving on to the semifinals, looking to win another ring. He fell short in the last one, but he's coming back with a vengeance.
And the defenses were just pretty much picture perfect for Bob. No real difficulty in either set playing these defenses, putting the sequences together, and then getting on offense. When you have great defense, it makes offense a whole lot easier. And this was the first set, the evolved Royal Giant for Bob. Not able to defend was Arden, and that Lumberjack snuck right on through. Second set, we see how great the Barbs can be against the Royal Giant when they are not the only fireball target. And the value here, over and over again, and over time, Bob just wearing his opponent down until the point where there was no coming back, shuts things down, and Bob the Rock takes a very important first set win over Ardentoe, setting up his teammate for a great chance in Mega Draft.
Precisely, and one of the key things in that second game, Rich, you talk about one tricks and how well they can play their deck. How about how they can defend their decks and their archetypes? Bob just seemed like in both games where he was playing RG and he was defending against RG, he was in control and he knew what to do. There wasn't any real moment of slip up or errors. He was always in a commanding position and just had his head in the game the entire time.
And that's, you know, one of those things that you develop over time. We talk about running someone's deck against them and the dangers that can face. We saw the lesson right there. So match number one, or set number one, goes to Bob. Now we go into set number two, and this is a fascinating matchup here in Mega Draft because we're getting into Sosa, who's currently number 3 overall on our list for CRL World Finals qualification, alongside Wallace, who very, very experienced, one of my longtime favorite players to work his way up from the semi-pro scene to the pro scene around the same time that you were doing the exact same thing there, Minnie.
Oh, you make me blush. Wallace is such a great job, so consistent over time. One of my close friends, he's kept himself in the top of the game for so long. He's always been great. RG player himself, always been there, but Sosa, this year, first year he's played CRL, been very on the rise, very commanding, has taken his cycle decks, implemented them into dual mode, where he's been incorporating these RG decks, these heavier decks, and I think of all the people that can take on Wallace in a dual format, Sosa is not one to be overlooked. Mega Draft, sorry.
Here we go. So Snowball, Log, Bar Barrel, Poison, Arrows, Earthquake in here. We'll see if someone chooses to take that. Wallace, very smart play, picking Poison first. When you see the Archers, the Firecracker, and the Magic Archer all on the board, Sosa saying, hey, I need something to get deep penetration. So he goes with the Arrows and Log as his first picks.
Yeah, I feel like anytime players pick cards in Mega Draft without letting it run out, it's like they're really confident in their picks. It's like, you know what? It doesn't matter too much. I'm taking this. I'm going to build around it. It's not that big of a deal, especially when it comes to spells. It kind of feels like, you know what? You're not going to beat me. It's fine. He's opting to go with the Valk, and the Wallace looks like he can really combo the bottom with anything. Taking the Valk away from Wallace does kind of close the graveyard window just a little bit, and we do see an RG available, so very, very familiar win conditions in this draft as both players look to build around a very stable first half of the draft.
And Wallace now maybe trying to get ready to counter either RG, E-Giant, or Hog. Maybe RG or Hog, the two more likely of those options, picking up the Goblin Cage.
Yep, Sosa could go with some Royal Hogs if Wallace doesn't build too much for it. He did take that Valkyrie, which opened the door for that itself. But I like Wallace. He's going with a standard Graveyard deck build. Maybe Sosa will take Graveyard away at the end of the day, just try and surprise. But he's got a very solid deck so far. He's got to complement it with an air targeting card and the win condition. Of course, maybe an Inferno Dragon as well. Super useful in these types of decks. And Sosa just sticking to cycle, it seems. Probably going to be seeing a Hog Rider from his end. Although, just looking at it, he could make a Graveyard work if he wants to pull a rabbit out of the hat and steal the pick from Wallace.
I really like the idea of Pig's Magic Archer for Wallace potentially here. He doesn't have an air targeting card at the moment, goes with the Skeleton Barrel for air attack, but that does not seem like the best pick out of Wallace here for the Skeleton Barrel. And now he has nothing that's really great for the Piggies and has to pick up something that's going to put some splash on those.
Yeah, but he also has to pick a win condition, and it feels like Wallace just got lost in the middle of this draft. He's got nothing for these Piggies. Goblin Brawler is going to be the main anchor against defending them, probably going to be placing it more directly in front of them as opposed to the middle, just to get that Goblin Brawler DPS straight onto those Piggies. Barbs up from Sosa, going to do a great job due to the fact that Wallace has that poison. And these Archers seem like they're always going to be a decent counter for this Skeleton Barrel, and Sosa also has a very adequate cycle in order to keep up with it.
So it seems like Sosa might have come out on top in this draft. We'll see if that holds true as time goes on. Just going full send here. Valk, Piggies in front of the Archer Queen, and Wallace might have to pop ability here. Let's see if he does for the little extra splash. He does not. Snowball to slow, but that's a nice early salvo from Sosa with just 50 seconds past.
Yeah, and the reason he did that is because he knew that his Archer Queen wasn't going to die to Poison Snowball because it leaves that at 1 HP. So he decides to put the Piggy's Valk in front of it just to try to get some value and not let Wallace have a counter push. Here, we're probably going to see the Arrows or the Log come down for the Skeleton Barrel. But very heads up start from Sosa, just very in the game right now. And this Valkyrie is going to require a Mighty Miner. And we're already starting to see the impact of Wallace not even having any support troops to be able to deal with any of Sosa's troops.
This is already looking very, very bad for the former Pain Gaming representative. And now split 2-2 supports the Queen to the right, but also puts some pressure on that left-hand lane. And Sosa, I think it looks like Sosa just knows he's in a comfortable position and is able to play sort of at will.
Yeah, Sosa's got to be happy with the outcome of this draft. As we approach double elixir, he's got all the answers for everything. Even though Wallace has an RG, he doesn't have any good synergy cards with it that are going to make some room. Valkyrie's always going to stay on top. Archer Queen will come down. He's got no real answers for the archers unless he wants to poison that, but then you have to worry about the threat of the Archer Queen. So I feel like Sosa's just going to execute a good series of defenses throughout this match. And then and these barbs, that was such a great pick in response to the RG.
Yeah, this is an interesting overall draft, and I go back to it, what I said before. I really thought that Wallace had a good option with the Royal Hogs and Magic Archer himself, as it would give him some, Valkyrie. People think of Valkyrie as countering the Royal Hogs, but she gives up a not insignificant amount of damage, even when you put them all four in one lane. But the split lane pressure would have been a thing, and then of course, if she does defend them in one lane, the Magic Archer value could have got. So that's all, though, in the past, in the draft that didn't happen. The draft that we did happen is in front of us, and so far it's been all Sosa as we make our way into sudden death overtime.
Yep, Sosa not making any real mistakes, and it seems like Sosa has to make a mistake. He's got to open the door if Wallace wants some way to win this game, but it just seems like it's going to be rinse and repeat the entire time. I would love to see maybe some Royal Giants in the back in order to try to align some poison value against some barbs or the Queen. And then you just really have to try to get real innovative. Maybe you throw a Skeleton Barrel in front, throw a Prediction Snowball and a Fire Spirit and maybe a minor ability, and then maybe get rid of all the barbs on top of your RG. But it feels like Wallace has to be really innovative if he wants to try and win this game.
Barbs, archers to the left-hand lane. Wallace going to use Snowball and let the Brawler take care of business, trying to find some way to do something, somehow. Royal Giant down, Barbs in response. Fire Spirit needs help. This is innovative. This is innovative. Beautiful play, and this is, again, right, yeah, exactly as you said. But even with all of that, not enough to retake the lead without the poison.
Honestly, I'm just happy Wallace did that because it shows that he's in the game enough in order to make it a fight. He's not just rolling over as a result of a bad draft. And he's got this poison and 3-card Mighty Miner cycle that could really change things if Sosa isn't able to get too much more damage. And if Sosa overcommits somehow, some way, yeah, Wallace is going to be able to get these Goblin Brawler DPSs and a Snowball here on the back, but that's only going to be a couple of hog shots. Mighty Miner is in here. Will we see a Royal Giant and a poison just to try to make some room? There's no elixir for the barbs just yet. Snowball misses. He's tried it, but wow. What a great effort from Wallace.
Yeah, very, very nice. Best he could do in that situation. Just a slight bit ahead of the barbs. The 5 elixir card coming down just after the Snowball, and that's going to be game number 1 for Sosa. And we're very close here to a clean 4-0 sweep for LeBron James.
Hey, LeBron James is no stranger to pulling the broom out, Rich. And I gotta say, all the team members are just playing some really solid Clash Royale. They're drafting well, they're playing well. As long as Sosa stays on the trend that LeBron James has been showing us today, it seems like one of the favorites in this competition could once again be crashing out in the first round.
And honestly, you take a look at what this team could do in the later rounds. And we'll look at our bracket end of the day, but right now, game number 2 of this set in front of us, and Sosa already has taken his pick, as well as Wallace, Arrows, and Phoenix, the first 2 picks.
Yep, right off the bat, this Queen just has to be. It's feel like it's got to be Queen and Monk. Maybe here's the thing: if you're Sosa, if you take the Monk, you're gonna neutralize the threat of the Queen. If you take the Queen, you're taking away a counter to your Phoenix. So it's kind of like beating around the bush a little bit. But I feel like there are enough counters to the Phoenix and the Ice Wizard, Skeleton Drags, and even Rascals, despite Wallace having arrows, that he feels no real urgency to take that Archer Queen. Mighty Miner is picked up from Wallace, so Sosa's probably going to be able to take that Monk towards the end. And this is somewhat dangerous because Royal Giant is on the board. As structure in the bomb tower, which isn't always the most common thing in a Royal Giant deck, but in Mega Draft it can really work out because it's such a good crutch to lean on, especially when you're going up against piggies and other win conditions that, like we said, when you play traditional meta decks you can always kind of draw and innovate to try to make some room, but when you play Mega Draft decks there really isn't that much wiggle room in terms of what you can do with the gameplay outside of your initial drafts.
Is there, you're talking about Royal Giant as a possibility here, but now I'm looking at options that Wallace already has good DPS there with the Mighty Miner. There's no Fisherman on the board, right? And it feels like Royal Giant without Fisherman, Monk in front of it could be impactful, but it feels like RG without Fisherman just is kind of dangerous these days.
Yeah, 100%. It changes up the dynamic a lot. Love the cannon cart pick here. It's kind of opening the route towards a bridge spam that can definitely end up taking the Royal Hogs. And even a Graveyard, but I wouldn't go Graveyard if I was Sosa just because there's no arrows and no other big spell in hand. So definitely could be very precarious if he decides to go that route. I love the delivery pick from Wallace because he's really building around solid defense, not letting Sosa get to his tower. And now this is where both players start to focus on the offensive part of their decks.
Yeah, Wallace is just locked down. RG has responses to it. Pigs has responses to it. Drill has responses to it. There really aren't any win conditions that are available that Sosa can break through that don't have pretty clear and almost devastating responses.
Yeah, and are we going to see our first battle ram of the day here from Sosa? Looks like he's just going all out bridge spam. Graveyard pick, I understand it, but the cannon card is going to do such a great job against it that I'm not sure it's the right way to go. However, this Inferno Tower pick from Wallace is also really good. It's going to do a great job at eating up basically every unit. And no win condition from Sosa, just going all out bridge spam, pedal to the metal. But the deck that Wallace has, oriented around delivery and control, just feels like it's going to be an interesting one for sure.
I think Sosa looked at that and realized there was not a win condition that was viable, that every single win condition would at best get stopped for even trades and at worst create big counter pushes the opposite direction. So did the best he could with that situation, and Wallace getting the major outdraft here. And I think that I'd be, my guess here, you talk about the graveyard, my guess with these graveyards out of Wallace is that we don't see one for a while, and instead he just continues to force Sosa to throw troops into him and throw elixir into him, and then eventually gets one big downhill, destroy your entire life kind of push.
Yeah, it's going to be easy for Sosa to overcommit. He's got to be aware of that delivery from Wallace. Still saved up in there, hasn't shown it just yet. But you say that for Wallace, I completely agree that Sosa, overcommit rain graveyards once we get to triple. But if he's not careful, if Sosa's able to amount a sufficient amount of troops from the defense of one graveyard into one lane, then he can overwhelm the other lane with skeleton dragons, make Wallace kind of pick and choose where he's got to play his delivery. So feels like for everything that these players do, there's always going to be somewhat of a downside, somewhat of a danger to their decisions.
Very slow gameplay here to start things off, and Skeleton Dragons will go to work on the graveyard, which will get some good damage in, but then leave a pretty nice counter play as the...
It's a good Royal Ghost.
Yeah, really good Royal Ghost. And just nothing in hand to really contend with the Royal Ghost here, which will open up a big lead for Sosa.
And that's a King Tower activation. There's nothing that Wallace can do about it. And that's... wow.
Oh, man.
Oh, Firecracker was Graveyard.
Didn't even think about that. Didn't even think about that as it was happening.
Yeah, just feels like it was kind of overlooked in the drafting part. Just picking the Firecrackers as a support part, building out the rest of your draft and thinking, I could build a Graveyard off of this, but you really can't because it's such a liability on offense. And now Sosa's already gotten a decent amount of damage that he's going to be happy with. He's going to continue to get more. He's going to have some Monk reflections that are going to cross the river, get some damage onto the tower. And that King Tower just feels like it's going to be huge.
So here we go. Is there any graveyard damage in the future for this matchup? And there you go. You see a couple of skeletons touch, but very minor touches, and now a completely healthy cannon cart behind this Ghost that's already fighting a Dark Prince. Monk in front for some chip. Skelly Drags in the middle to pick up the Inferno Tower. Sosa is just a couple steps ahead of Wallace right now.
Yeah, super heads up Skeleton Dragons, just knowing what Wallace would do. This Cannon Cart's going to require something else. Cannon Cart already going into the opposite lane, and this is one of those times where if Wallace was to go in, I would be scared for the counter push that would be happening. He's got to pick up this Firecracker on the left row. It's going to be a little bit too much value. Those Rascals aren't really going to get the value that they were intended to. Royal Delivery is going to come down on this Cannon Cart once it crosses. And great job of just preventing damage to Sosa and making Wallace spend a lot on the back foot.
And you see Skelly Drags right behind. And that Cannon Cart almost gets the tower, but the Skeleton Dragons are being tanked for. And that's going to be enough to open this thing up and probably, oh, assuredly, that's going to be it. Sosa.
Broom.
2-0. Bob the Rock 2-0. That's right. Sweep it up. You called it. GG, well played. Sosa and Bob going through to our semifinals.
Sweep, 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 sweep. Hey, y'all doubted me. You doubted me for being on the LeBron James train. But hey, the odd one out today proved to have its fruits. I'm proud to say I was a LeBron James fan from the start. And hey, that was a great match. So, some back and forth, but just shut down in the end by LeBron.
And just look at this on the left-hand side when the delivery played before the Cannon Cart crossed the bridge. You said it would be played when the Cannon Cart did cross the bridge, but it trapped the Cannon Cart just outside of range. And then, of course, the Skelly Drags behind. The Skelly Drag play from Sosa, there were two plays there, one in the middle and then one there in that corner that were both top tier, that both took complete advantage, and Wallace had no answer for it. So a brilliant performance from Bob, a great one from Sosa, and we now have all four of our semifinal teams ready to go for our big final day tomorrow. Minnie, thoughts on the matchup that we just saw? I know you called it for them, a 4-0.
Yeah, I thought it wasn't going to be that easy. I thought a duo of Arden, Toas, and Wallace, both world finals, were going to fight back just a little bit more. I did not expect a clean sweep. I can't lie. But hey, I am more than happy about it. And as we take a look at our updated bracket, Rich, we have some great matchups awaiting us tomorrow.
Faust and Doom versus Surgical Goblin and Vitor is an absolute thriller. And speaking of thrillers, Inthrill and Titan, the Polish power, going up against Bob the Rock and Sosa, who looked every bit the veterans today in this competition. Tomorrow's going to be great. We'll have both the semifinals, and of course, we will also crown our champion right here for the Snapdragon Pro Series Season 3. Minnie, this was a whole lot of fun, a really back and forth battle for some of these, and then of course some top tier performances. Out of every team that you saw today, which one impressed you the most?
As much as I love this LeBron James performance, Doom and Faust had to have been the team that impressed me the most. Just because you're going up against such an insurmountable opponent as Mohamed Light and Lucas, you're just taking it to them without any regard for what's going to happen. I just love that, and I'm excited to see these players hopefully face off against the LeBron James team in the final. It's going to be such a thriller.
Well, let's go ahead and get ready to see the most important matchup of the day, because yes, we had some big teams, but more importantly, we had our predictions, and it is a round robin, a three-way tie. Rich, Cashman, and Minnie, all three of us coming in with a clean 2 points. So just as the wealth was spread around today in game, it was certainly spread around here with this as well. Minnie, a lot of underdogs getting the wins today. It felt like this format really allowed players to shine in moments that weren't available to them in previous matches.
Such an exciting format. I love the having a team, but having them play two individual 1v1 modes. It seems kind of bringing everything that Clash Royale is about together. It is supposed to be an individual game, but hey, you team up, you have players dedicating themselves to different sets, and it brought us so many unique situations, and that's what we love about this game. We love to see the 1-1 situation game 3. We love to see the Mohamed Light losing game 1. We love to see Lucas standing up for the team, bringing it back in game 2. Great amount of gameplay, and honestly, what a better way to start this first day of our 2-day Grand Final series.
That's right, and we are not done. We have more Clash Royale coming to you tomorrow. Same time, same place. We'll do our semifinals and, of course, crown our champion for the Snapdragon Pro Series Season 3. You can make sure you miss none of the action by subscribing to the channel you're right now. Turn on notifications to make sure you don't miss a moment. And, of course, don't forget to follow us on all social media. Join the Discord so you can participate in our future offerings here for the Snapdragon Pro Series. It's been a really fun day, and more coming tomorrow on behalf of everybody here. Minnie, our friend Cashman, the whole production squad doing a great job making a show for y'all. I'm Rich Slayton. This has been the Snapdragon Pro Series. We'll see you back here tomorrow when we crown our champion.
Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. I don't got the time, put me in, coach. I've been going hard, time to let it show. Everything raw, give it to me now. Let me have the spot, man, it's going down. Gotta get it here, I don't wanna wait. Take what I want, then I go train. Gotta get a win, I won't lose the game. This is my year, I ain't gonna break. Strap in, cause it's gonna be a long ride. Working on me every single day and night. There comes a time when your worlds will collide. If it's holding you back, push it right to the side. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. I don't got the time, put me in, coach. I've been going hard, time to let it show. Everything raw, give it to me now. Let me have the spot, man, it's going down. Gotta get it here, I don't wanna wait. Take what I want,
The
then I go
Snapdragon
train.
Pro
Gotta
Series,
get a
powered
win.
by Samsung Galaxy, is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, Monster Energy, and DHL.